Welcome back to the channel. This is Trendy Storm and you are watching first part of What If Naruto Found Sword of Immortal Savior. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share and subscribe to this channel. Now wasting no more time, let's start the story.
As he got up and left the house, Naruto turned to face Inari, who had just finished tirading about how Gato would kill them all. "Kid, with everything I've been through, I'm basically immortal." Sakura inquired, what did he mean by that, Kakashi-sensei? As Naruto slammed the door, Kakashi looked at it with sorrow and shrugged his shoulders while turning a page in his book when he took a bite to eat. Sasuke looked at the door frowning and thought, Dobi. Then he glared at Inari and said, "Kid, shut up, you're annoying." Naruto headed through the woods to the clearing where he and Sasuke had been practicing tree climbing as he arrived. He turned and started to walk toward the village, thinking, stupid brat, claims I don't know what it is like to be in pain and suffer, thinks stupid Gato is going to kill me, I'm going to go kick that bastard's ass just to show Inari he nothing. Naruto clenched his fist due to painful memories when he arrived and saw some people walking toward their home in fear, looking around for danger after searching the town. He saw several inebriated men carrying weapons, and he thought, those must be some of Gato men. He leapt up on a roof and squatted down to watch. We need to get back before the boss gets upset, he won't like the fact the bridge is still being built, one of the men said after they had been drinking, smashing windows, and tipping over trash cans for about 20 minutes. Someone else said, screw that little midget, I'm not going anywhere until I finish my beer. The other men turned and left him there after glancing at him and saying, suit yourself. Naruto was about to follow the men when the inebriated one unexpectedly materialized in front of him on the roof, kicking him in the ribs and sending him flying. The man landed close to Naruto as he coughed and held his chest in an alley. He kicked Naruto in the chest once more, sending him down the alley against the wall, and said, stupid kid, just because I'm not a ninja now doesn't mean I wasn't when I could feel your chakra coming a mile away. When Naruto reached for a kunai, the man smashed the beer bottle into his hand, causing him to scream as the broken bottle pierced his hand. Naruto thought, is this it? Is this how I am going to die? As he continued to scream in agony with each punch the man delivered until he passed out, the man then grabbed the kunai Naruto had dropped when the beer bottle crashed into him and stabbed Naruto's other hand. When Naruto awoke, the man who had attacked him was pulling him along a lengthy hallway by one leg while holding a bottle of beer in the other. Naruto pulled back and gave the man a hard kick with his free leg between his legs. When the man dragging Naruto screamed and dropped his beer, he released Naruto to cover himself, and Naruto fled down the hallway. The man started to slowly follow Naruto after he got up, holding himself, and yelled, run you little bastard, it won't save you, I'm going to kill you. As he ran, Naruto kept trying to find a door that would allow him to escape, thinking, I got to get out of here, that man is going to kill me, how do I get out of here? As he approached Naruto, the man who was pursuing him yelled, that's right, run little piggy, I'm going to kill you very slowly. When Naruto saw the man only 30 feet away up the hall, he became increasingly frightened and began flinging his whole body against every door in the hopes of entering a room where he would be safe from the man. When Naruto got to one of the hallway's final doors, he slammed it with everything he had before it broke off its hinges and he fell into the room. Moments later, the man entered the room, and Naruto screamed, no, stay back, someone help. As he attempted to flee, the man produced a knife and held it above his head in a moment of sheer desperation. Naruto felt his hands touch something sharp, causing his hand to cut. Ignoring the pain, he grabbed the object and pushed it forward. When the man was stabbed in the chest, he looked down to see a rusty sword embedded in his chest just before he passed away, and his face was filled with shock. Still clutching the sword, Naruto was trembling with fear and thinking, oh my god, I killed him. He was starting to lose consciousness. As he saw the sewer in the cage, a man with short brown hair and brownish black eyes, dressed in a gray cloak, black pants, and a red shirt, appeared inside Naruto in front of Kyubi's cage. He thought, wonder what kind of fucked up life someone has to live to have this kind of mind. He moved to where he could see some water in front of the cage, knelt down, and started drinking it. His eyes flitted for a second before he stepped into the water and thought, interesting, this water is his memories. He chuckled as he gazed at the cage and remarked, so you're the big bad Kyubi, huh? I've even scarier things than you. He had been watching Naruto's life unfold until his appearance. Hearing a voice, Kyubi opened his eyes and uttered, how dare you, human, I am the great Kyubi no Kitsune and I will destroy you. The man's eyes widened and he said, I am Connor MacLeod of the clan MacLeod. I was born in 1518 AD in Glenfinnan, Scotland, near the shores of Loch Shiel. I am immortal, end the end, there can only be one, and I was the one. I gained the prize the gods gave me, and after seeing the destructive nature of man as they finally prepared to destroy themselves, I bound my soul to my sword so I would not have to see the destruction that would fall upon the world, and so I could search for someone who I could give my power to from the survivors of the destruction I saw coming, and I believe I have found him. The boy you are contained in is the one I believe I will choose, and remember these words, kyubi, in the end, there can be only one. When he looked at the who understood what Connor meant. As the kyubi screamed in rage and slammed against the cage before he was fully sealed off, bricks started to appear in front of the cage. Connor asked, "Did you get that, kid?" as he turned to see Naruto standing there, gaping and terrified. Naruto had just been about to go into shock when he noticed that everything around him had turned dark. He materialized in front of a cage, where he saw a man standing, and the kyubi. He heard the man say his name and all the other things he said before the man cut off the kyubi with a wall of bricks and turned to Naruto to ask a question. Naruto inquired, "What happened? Where are we and how did you do that?" Connor continued, "We are currently where your mind and soul meet now. As for what happened, I am the sword you used to kill that man. When you cut your hand on it, the blood formed a bond between us, allowing me to enter this place, and I looked at your memories and saw your entire life, and truthfully I think it sucks." In response, Connor remarked, "Which is why I decided I am going to help you." Naruto scowled as he looked down. "Huh," said Naruto. Connor nodded and continued, "Look, as I told the fox, I am immortal, and I was given a gift from the gods themselves to try and help mankind, but by the time I won the prize, man had doomed themselves. The world as it once was got destroyed with billions of people dying. I have lived hundreds of years watching and waiting until I found someone to pass on the prize to. I think with all the pain and suffering you have went through and still remain so innocent, you are who I am looking for. So to help you, I know things that no mortal has ever known. I can help people understand each other better, and so I know a way to help you kill the fox and be free of him. I also know how to fight, and I will teach you how to fight the way I do, as well as teach you other things that will make you stronger, smarter, faster, and a happier person." Naruto replied, "But what do you get out of this deal? Why are you helping me?" Connor laughed as he said, "In the end, there can be only one kid, one winner. One prize. In the end I will die and be allowed to return to my first wife, my beloved Heather." After a brief scowl, Naruto remarked, "So you're saying I'll have to kill you?" Connor replied, "I'm already dead, kid, I just haven't passed on yet. Now do you want to be free of the kyubi once and for all, as well as find out who your parents were and become better than ever?" With wide eyes, Naruto uttered, "You know who my parents are?" Connor replied, "In a way I do. I saw your memories and saw them, but now is not the time to discuss it. Somebody will find you soon along with that man, so you need to decide if you want my help." Naruto responded, "Yes, I do." Before Naruto could respond, he found himself back in the room where he had killed the man who was now on the ground. Connor said, "Good. Then when you wake up, do what I tell you to, okay?" Heard. "Alright, kid. Listen up, grab that sword that is in the man you killed and pull it out. Good. Now see that black backpack, grab it also. Now grab all those cloths and stuff them in the bag, as well as those green weights there. That right. Now slip the bag on your back and get the hell out of here." Naruto inquired, "Which way?" He observed, "Find out yourself. I don't even know how the sword got in this building, much less how to get out." After about 20 minutes, Naruto scowled as he walked out of the room and discovered a fire exit. Upon exiting, he realized he had been in an office building of some sort. He observed, "Get to the woods as far away from here as you can, and I will tell you what to do then." Connor laughed and remarked, "I feel like a puppet master pulling the strings. Anyways, you asked who your parents were, right?" Naruto had been running rapidly toward the woods for 2 hours when he stopped and found himself back in his own head. "Yeah," Naruto replied. Connor gestured with his hands, and Naruto discovered that the room had been transformed into a hospital room. He saw a red-haired woman in a hospital bed, and a man who made his eyes wide stood next to her. Naruto exclaimed, "He's beautiful." Kushina, who was weak, said, "I know Minato, he's so innocent, so pure. I'm going to miss him. I can feel myself growing weaker already." Minato looked at her with a sad expression and replied, "I know, dear, I won't be far behind you. I wish I could be there for him, but to stop the kyubi I am going to have to seal it inside him. It's the only way to save him and the village." As Kushina gradually died, Naruto watched with tears in his eyes as the room around them reverted to the sewer and the kyubi was sealed inside him. After glancing at him, Connor remarked, "So you can see who your parents are now, huh?" After a brief period of silence, Naruto uttered the words, "My own father, he sealed the kyubi into me. He cursed me with a life of pain and suffering to save the village." Connor replied, "And you, but you don't actually know what he did that day." In an impolite tone, Naruto blinked and questioned, "What are you talking about?" He walked over, sat down, picked up the teacup, and said, "Join me, I will explain some things to you." The scene changed to a small cafe with teacups on the table and chairs. "How are you doing that, changing all this around us?" asked Naruto as he approached and sat down slowly. Naruto glared at Connor when he said, "Simple kid, it's a kind of magic." He laughed, "Ha ha ha ha, sorry." After glancing at the tea, Naruto questioned, "So what is it you want to tell me?" Connor sighed and said, "You and I are a lot alike, kid. We both were given a burden neither of us wanted. We were both hated for what made us different. We are both immortal." Naruto's eyes widened and he questioned, "What?" Connor drank his tea and inquired, "Do you really think that sealing something immortal into immortal is going to kill the immortal?" "Sorry kid, don't work that way. The moment the fox was sealed in you and your soul began to mix with as you lost your mortality, you will age and grow older and older and older as your body will get weaker and weaker until you are either killed or kill yourself, and the fox there will be freed. The reason no one has told you the truth is nobody likes to talk about Jinchuriki, and before they get to old age they are usually killed and the demons inside of them are placed in another." "So you're saying that my pain and suffering is for no reason?" Naruto said, casting a downward glance. "Basically, however," said Connor looking up. Naruto questioned, "However what?" Connor continued, "There is more than one kind of immortality, kid. There are people in the world who can take the organs of other living people and replace their own. There are those who can send their souls into other people's bodies. There are those who feed on the blood of the living and countless other ways that I know of. Some may not still exist in this day and age, but some may. You have to understand, I have seen a lot of things in my life and I was given a gift of knowledge as well of every other immortal like I was. I don't know everything, but I do know a lot. What I am offering you, kid, is another form of immortality, the same kind I had when I was still in my body before I sealed my soul to my sword. You won't grow old, you will heal quickly, and the only way for you to die is if someone separates your head from your body. It still has its curses though, but it also has its benefits." As Naruto put it, "Like what?" According to Connor, "Well, for starters you won't have the kyubi in you, so people can quit hating you for that. By training under me you will learn some skills that will make you stronger and harder to kill, and you won't have to worry about getting weaker as you get older." Naruto responded, "But besides being immortal, watching all the other people grow old and die is bad about being immortal your way. You will never be able to have children. The heartache of losing all those you know in time will hurt, but I assume you realize that is already going to happen," Connor said with a sigh and a slight smile. Slowly nodding, Naruto remarked, "Yeah, but I don't really have anyone who cares about me anyways to lose." According to Connor, "You got more than you think and you can get more in time, so what do you think? Are you willing to trade one form of immortality for another?" After giving it some consideration, Naruto questioned, "So the only way I can die is if my head is cut off, right?" Connor replied, "Yeah, there are a few rules you will have to follow though. You can't kill on holy ground. It is neutral ground for our kind. Even though you will be the last, it is still a rule that must be followed. The results are not pretty, only one-on-one fights for a mortal like us. As for the dying part, I know a few immortals who were burned alive and lived, buried in graves, drowned, and we still regenerate, but there is a limit to what can grow back. I don't know what would happen if your body is completely destroyed, which would be hard, but as far as I know the only way to kill us is to take our head and with it our knowledge and power. There might be other ways, but I never seen it, but that doesn't mean that you should take stupid risk." After giving it some thought, Naruto remarked, "Well, since I am immortal anyhow, I might as well accept the better offer. At least this time I have a choice." Connor grinned and replied, "Good kid, now since I told you that you won't age, let's work on making you look more like an adult instead of a kid. You don't want to be laughed at for all eternity for being a shorty, do you?" Naruto turned to Connor and replied, "Good, now here is what I want you to do. Remember what your parents look like. Now pick what you want from them to make yourself look like an adult. I would suggest taking your father as a basic mold though. He had a good physical body and his height will help you in life. This is your mind, so anything you imagine will appear okay." When Naruto closed his eyes, he first considered his mother, then his father. Connor was thinking when he noticed Minato appear. He noticed that his blonde hair had red streaks in it, and he saw that one of his eyes remained blue while the other turned light green. Naruto maintained his own nose, but his spiky hair took on a more serene appearance. Among other minor changes, despite being 5 feet 11 inches and weighing about 155 pounds, he had the physique of a track runner. "So is that the body you want for all eternity? You won't be able to change it after we do the ritual," Connor said as Naruto opened his eyes. "Trust me, kid, when you find someone to love, you will be thankful for that change," Connor said as Naruto examined it and noticed a slight change in the body. Naruto replied, "But you said I won't be able to have kids, so?" According to Connor, "You can still have sex, kid, and you won't have to worry about getting sick. You can't." As Connor held out his hand and a gold-plated cup with a gold fluid inside, he said, "Don't worry about it, kid. You will understand later. Now I want you and your future body to drink this." Naruto appeared perplexed. The question was, "What is it?" According to Connor, It's the quickening, it's a kind of magic that binds us together and makes us who we are. It makes us one, it's a bond that can never be broken. Even in death it makes us brothers in a way. With a perplexed expression, Naruto uttered, I don't understand. Don't worry, you will. Trust me, Connor said with a nod. Naruto accepts the cup, drinks it, and then hands it to the altered version of himself, who also takes it and drinks it. With that, Connor extended his hand and said, touch my hand, both of you. He starts chanting in a language Naruto didn't understand, and he lowered his hands and said, face each other and repeat after me while holding your hands as such. Naruto and his clone both touch a hand and gasp as lightning starts to leap between them. In their hands, Naruto and his clone form a pyramid, and Connor remarked, through time we come, passing through the ages until the time of the gathering end. The end there can be only one. The words were repeated by Naruto and his alternate self, and Connor flashed through hand signals, saying, sacred arts. Soul change. He then projected lightning from his hands, creating a pyramid between Connor, Naruto, and his clones. Naruto blacked out as he felt pain in his body being torn apart. Remember, Naruto, there can be only one. You are not in your old body, and that body now belongs to the kyubi. If you do not want him to escape, then you must kill him while he is weak. Remember my words to him, Connor said in his mind as Naruto woke up and looked up at the sky. He then looked down and saw that he was naked and that his body was not his own. He also noticed that his other self's body was stirring as a sickness struck him in the stomach. As he blinked, Naruto glanced around and saw the rusted sword on the ground. He swiftly grabbed it and turned to face his original body, which opened its eyes but were red. He heard the kyubi's voice say, I'm free to get my revenge. Red chakra started to cover his body. When Naruto realized Connor was telling the truth, his eyes widened. He remembered Connor's words and swiftly cut the head off his original body, saying, sorry kyubi, but there can be only one. When the head rolled away, Naruto sensed that something was moving around him. He looked around and saw that a mist was starting to cover the area, and the wind was getting stronger. He also saw that lightning was shooting from the dead body into Naruto, who screamed in agony and yelled, Connor. He felt the lightning tearing through him. He collapsed to the ground, panting, as the lightning struck nearby trees, causing some to catch fire. He felt his insides stop burning after about 20 minutes, and as he slowly got to his feet, he asked himself, what was that? Replied Connor, it was the quickening. When you took his head, you took his power, you destroyed the kyubi. Naruto was thinking, but you said that he would go free when I died, right? So won't he come back? Connor responded, no, remember when I had both you and the clone drink from the cup? That and the ritual made you both into the type of immortal I am. The ritual I had you both complete created a special type of blood clone in the looks of what you wanted to look like. Then you switched your soul with that of the clone. The clone then dispelled itself, giving your body to the kyubi to do as he pleased, but he had to break through my wall first, so that gave you time, but he got through it quicker than I thought he would. But see, he was in his body at that point, not yours, so when he was killed he died. Where are you, Naruto? You should have been back by now, Kakashi thought as he watched Sasuke and Sakura at the bridge a few minutes earlier. He said, Sasuke, Sakura, stay here and guard Tazuna. I need to check something out. He then shushined away, leaving two perplexed students. He felt something to the east at that moment, and his eyes widened. No, it can't be, the kyubi. The open field where Kakashi felt the kyubi chakra had some lightning damage, and he thought, I know this is where I felt the kyubi chakra, but where is it now and where is Naruto? He searched around but couldn't find anything, so he went back to the bridge. After Kakashi left, Naruto turned to face a smirking Connor and questioned, what? Naruto inquired, why did he not see us, and why did you tell me to be silent no matter what? Because you're not ready to go back to them yet. You have a lot to learn, including how to use your new body. I used an illusion to make it look like there was nothing here for him to find. What do you think would happen if he saw your original body dead on the ground over there? He would have attacked and killed you without ever listening, Connor said, waving his arm to make Naruto appear wearing a cotton shirt and a kilt. Looking up, Naruto said, and how are you out here? And asked, I guess that makes sense. He also asked, why am I in a dress? I believe that you were either trapped in me or the sword. Remember, Naruto, it's a sort of magic, Connor said with a sly smile. Regarding the dress, that's not a dress, it's a kilt, which is the official uniform of Scotsmen. You are wearing the colors of my clan, and you will continue to do so until you have mastered everything I have taught you. We now have training to complete. After you put the sword in your bag and carry it while you follow me. Take the weights I asked you to grab and place them on your arms and legs until you faint. You'll do what I do. I'll train you mentally after that until you pass my last exam and I move on. This is how things will remain. As he put on the arm and leg weights, Naruto inquired, what is your final test? As he started to run, Connor said, That is for you to find out later, now hurry up. After grabbing the sword and slipping it into the backpack's side, Naruto started to follow Connor as he started to gather wood. Why are we gathering wood? Naruto asked. Trust me, kid, Connor said as he continued to gather, and Naruto did the same. Connor started to lay the wood on the ground as they returned to the clearing where Naruto's body was, and Naruto questioned, "What are we doing, Connor?" Connor stated, "We need to destroy your old body so animals don't dig it up and to make sure Kyubi is dead forever. That fox may have known a trick or three to come back to life, but if his body is completely destroyed he can't. We're going to burn that body to ash." Glancing down, Naruto approached his body and started removing the weapon pouches. He scowled and uttered the words, "My head is gone." "It's probably back at that place we met," Connor said. Connor grabbed Naruto's arm and shook his head as he started to return to the building where he had killed the man. "If you go there now it would be suicide. You can get it back later when you're ready, okay?" While he nods and frowns, Naruto assists Connor in stacking the wood. When they pick up his old body and place it on the wood, he remarks, "This is weird." As he snapped his fingers and flames appeared on the body, Connor said, "I know, but it has to be done." Naruto's eyes widened as he saw the body start to burn, and he became ill from the smell of the burning flesh. He then ran to a tree and puked. An hour later, Connor started to run and said, "Okay kid, let's start your training, follow me." Naruto started to follow Connor after glancing at the charred body and asking himself, "Who am I now?" They soon reached a beach and continued running along it. As they did so, Naruto noticed some mountain slopes in the distance and thought, "Strange, I didn't think there was any mountains in Wave, but they sure are beautiful." He began to feel tired and Connor replied, "Use chakra to keep going. You need to learn to control the chakra in your body, making you faster and to keep you going even when you think you reached your limit. In a fight you stop, you die. You need to keep going as long as the enemy still has his head. Never stop, never surrender, never give up. There can be only one. Do you understand?" Panting, Naruto uttered, "Yeah, I understand." Connor laughed as he thought, "You don't even realize we are running in a huge circle, Naruto. This is all an illusion, but because of the effects of my illusion you and your body think they are real. Oh beautiful Scotland, how I miss you." Upon his return to the bridge, Kakashi noticed Sakura and Sasuke observing him, and Tazuna inquired, "Is everything okay, Kakashi?" Kakashi replied, "Yes, I thought I had felt Naruto chakra for a moment so I went to check it out." Sakura and Sasuke's ears perked up at this point, and Tazuna questioned, "Well, where is he?" "He wasn't there but," said Kakashi with wide eyes. Sakura questioned, "But what, Kakashi-sensei?" After a brief period of silence, Kakashi uttered the words, "I don't know, I just got the feeling something happened to him." Glancing at Sasuke, Sakura scowled and asked herself, "Why does Sasuke-kun look so worried?" Later that night, while he was running up a mountain, Naruto felt his whole body give out as he passed out. He thought, "That's it, I can't go no more." The mountain he had been climbing began to shimmer as he did so, revealing a flower-filled meadow. He saw Connor standing on the mountain that Naruto had been climbing. When Naruto materialized in his mind, Connor remarked, "So that was your limit? That was as far as you could go?" Naruto was staring at Connor. "Not bad but not good enough either. There will come times where you will have to fight for days without sleep. Times where you will be outnumbered and times where if you fall those who depend on you will die. It is not just physically that you need to get stronger, Naruto, it is mentally and spiritually also. Catch." As he flung a broad sword at Naruto. After dropping it while attempting to pick it up, Naruto said, "It's too heavy, I can't pick it up." With a shrug, Connor said, "Then you die." He then drew his sword, leapt off the ground, and went to attack Naruto, who struggled to move it with all of his strength and screamed as Connor slashed him across the back. Connor inquired, "What's wrong, Naruto? I thought you were stronger than this." As he attempted to cover the wound on his back, Naruto uttered the words, "I can't pick up your sword, asshole." Connor responded, "What do you mean my sword? I have mine right here." After glancing at Connor, who was brandishing his sword, Naruto turned to face the falling sword on the ground and uttered the words, "It wasn't real." Connor inquired, "What is real, Naruto? Was that body I had real? Was the mountain you were climbing real?" "Are you saying they were all fake?" inquired Naruto. Connor replied, "I told you it's a kind of magic, kid. Illusions are as real or as fake as a person believes they are. I seen a child go their entire life in an illusion once and believed until the day he died the illusion was real. He believed his mother and father was with him. He met a girl, dated, married, had children with and grandchildren and died an old man, all in an illusion. The only way to tell if an illusion is real or fake is to fight it. Challenge it with another illusion, destroy it, or the person using it cancels it." However, Naruto questioned, "But you can't kill with an illusion, can you?" Connor inquired, "If one of your Kage Bunshin stabs someone in the heart, does that make them any less dead?" According to Naruto, I guess not, Connor replied, correct. A Kage Bunshin truthfully is a spin-off of the illusion I will teach you to use. You use your energy to mold the shape, size, power and weakness of what you want to appear and control it. What I was doing in all those cases was basically the same. A person can die by an illusion just like they can in real life. They can die also from a genjutsu if their mind believes what they see and feel is real. The more real the illusion, the more real it will seem to a person. Now a special note. The best illusions are the ones based off of something you can do or something real. The more you experience in life, the more your illusions will become real. Naruto replied, but how do I do illusions? I can do Kage Bunshin no problem, but... Connor raised his hand and said, okay. Let's start with something simple. Thanks to the gift I gave you along with the power you took from Kyubi, the power of illusions will be easy here in your mind, and with practice you can make them as real as they are in the real world normally. But with a lot of practice and passing my final test, you will be able to make illusion in the real world just as I can. After all, you're linked to the world now in a way you can never have imagined. Naruto looked perplexed and Connor shook his, relax kid. You will understand soon. Now do you remember your fight with Zabuza when you transformed yourself into a demon windmill shuriken? That was you using your hidden talent of using illusions you were granted from Kyubi by being his Jinchuriki. Immortals always have a strong connection with the world around us and it gives us some advantages. Don't worry about it for not, but I want you to imagine a weapon for you to use, a sword. Connor threw him a sword, which Naruto could actually hold in his hand. He smirked and said, good, now let's fight. He charged at Naruto, who was immediately put on the defensive and stabbed in the heart. Naruto scrunched his nose, focusing as he looked at the sword on the ground that had reappeared. After about 20 minutes, he died, and as he looked at Connor, who was sitting on a rock sipping tea, he felt his body jerk and gasped for air. Connor replied, okay, let's see if you can last longer than 3 seconds this time before dying. Naruto was attacked repeatedly as soon as he got to his feet. When a figure appeared on foot in the field the following morning, Naruto was still unconscious. The woman approached Naruto and gazed at him for a few minutes before a breeze blew through the room. Lifting his kilt, her eyes widened, and she thought, oh my god, that's nearly the biggest one I have ever seen. It's as big as a kunai. The figure blinked and thought, I may pretend to be a guy and get away with it, but there is no way the guy is going to pass as a woman and get away with it, although he does look familiar. She turned to leave, but as she walked back toward Naruto, she stopped to give him one last glance and reflected, but this guy needs to be taught a lesson about cross-dressing and modesty. The woman smirked as she continued her journey, leaving the clearing a few minutes later. Connor showed up when Naruto woke up, about 20 minutes later, and said, you ready to continue your lessons? Naruto turned to him and said, you killed me nearly 1,000 times last night, beating the shit out of me after you had me run until I passed out. I haven't eaten in God knows how long and I need to take a leak. Connor replied, well, be my guest, take care of your business, and then we will run some more until we get to a stream and you will catch some fish, eat, and then we will continue your training. After giving him a fierce look, Naruto approached a tree and turned to face Connor, asking, do you mind? Connor turns around and snorts, and Naruto lifts his kilt and starts to leak. When he tried to shake himself off, he blinked and perspired, and he turned to face Connor, asking, Connor, why did you do this? Gazing at Naruto, Connor blinked repeatedly before erupting in laughter and exclaiming, oh my lord, I can't believe that actually happened. Covering himself, Naruto asked in a bewildered tone, what happened? Connor sang while grinning at the evening fair, a Scotsman wearing a kilt left a bar. I'm not sure where you've been, but I noticed that you took first place. Naruto became very angry and said, so you're saying some woman put this here and not you? As he collapsed to the ground laughing. Connor replied, like the song said, lad, I don't know where you've been, but I see you won first prize. Naruto asked, so what now? With a sigh, thinking, I will never get that damn song out of my head now. Connor instructed, now, close your eyes. He closed his eyes and heard Connor say, now listen to the forest around you. Listen to the wind blow, the earth laying firmly beneath your feet, the water sway, and the sun bring life to the world. Feel your connection to it, embrace it. Accept it as a part of you because you are a part of it, all of it. The world around you is connected to you and you did never forget the feeling you feel. As the world materialized in his mind, Naruto felt his control over his body ebbing. He opened his eyes and saw a wolf staring at him from the right. I can hear him, I can feel his heartbeat and his emotions. What is this feeling? He thought. When Connor noticed Naruto staring at the wolf, he grinned and remarked, you feel it, don't you? Gazing at Connor, Naruto inquired, but what is it? Connor stated, the prize that we fought and died for, the prize I am giving to you. You feel only a small taste of it now. When there were more of our kind, the more we killed, the stronger our connection got. We are born to be kings, princes of the universe. Naruto, no man can be our equals. With a glance at the wolf, Naruto asked, "Why does he call me that name?" Connor questioned, "What name?" In Naruto's words, "Ramirez." Connor laughed and said, "He's not talking about you. He's talking about the blade on your back. Ramirez was the man who taught me while we are. The same lessons I am teaching you. That blade is from this part of the world and is even older than I am. There is only one other blade like it in the world, and it belonged to another immortal who was a kinsman of mine. As I told you, we are a part of this world, connected to it in ways no one could understand. Even all these centuries after his death, Ramirez is still known to this world as one of the true masters of life. He was a scholar, a student, a teacher, a lover, a diplomat, a general, a king, and a peasant. An artist and a philosopher. The blade speaks to that wolf because it is his legacy that I carried in my heart and soul after his death that now you will carry on. We are connected through the quickening heat, I and you to me. Even in death we are connected, and the world around us is connected to us. In time you will become like me as I was like him. I was a scholar, a student, a teacher, a lover, a diplomat, a general, a king, a peasant, an artist and a philosopher. In your life you will as well. So this sword is like an heirloom of great men, Naruto thought as he gazed at the dragon handle of the blade resting on his back. Naruto and Connor said, "Now come, we have much to do today." The wolf howled and fled into the woods, and Naruto started to follow him. After leaving the area, the wolf vanished, shimmering into gold. Connor was thinking, "You must learn we are more than warriors, Naruto. There is more to life than fighting." As the two men in front of him presented their reports, Gato turned to face his personal bodyguards at headquarters and questioned, "What do you mean someone got inside of my mansion here and killed one of my men? How did this happen?" One of the men replied, "We don't know, sir. It appears it happened a day or two ago. If it was not for the smell we would not have found him. It appears he was killed by a ninja from Konoha, sir." "How can you be sure?" Gato inquired. The man held up Naruto Hid and said, "Because we found this, sir." After scowling, Gato said, "Let's go meet Zabuza." He then stood up and escorted the other two men out. Gato stated, "There has been a change of plans. Zabuza, one of the Konoha ninja, have made it inside of my mansion and killed one of my men. I want you to find out which one and capture him for me. I want to make an example out of him." Zabuza was sitting on the side of the bed, holding his ribs. Glancing over at Haku, Zabuza scowled and questioned, "What about the bridge builder?" As he turned, Haku reached for him, and Zabuza said, "Haku, stop." Gato sneered, "I will have one of my men tonight place explosives on the supports of the bridge and collapse it. That will set them back. We can deal with the bridge builder later. I do not like my home invaded. That could have been me that was killed. Now do as you are paid to, or I will contact the hunter nins myself." As he left, Gato remarked, "Keep your bitch on a leash or I will let my men have their way with her." Once he had left, Zabuza inquired, "What do you think?" Haku stated, "I think we should kill him and leave Zabuza-sama. I do not trust him and he is already changing our mission without any pay change. I do not think he will pay us. I want you to get close to the Konoha nins and see if one of them is missing. His head report back to me which one and we will go from there," Zabuza said after a few minutes of silence. "Hi Zabuza-sama," said Haku following Connor for a while after Naruto finished his fish meal. They arrived at a shipping dock with multiple cargo ships. Connor gazed at them for a few minutes before Naruto questioned, "What are you looking at, Connor-sensei?" After turning to face Naruto, Connor remarked, "You know, I think it is time for you to have a bath. You smell like a pig." Connor chuckled as he said, "Come, let's go find a river to bath in." Naruto gave him a glare while they were still running. People on the island were awakened later that night by the sound of an explosion deep in the forest. Naruto woke up and asked himself, "What was that?" "I'm not sure, but it was a good distance away, whatever it was," Connor said when he appeared. "Do you think it was the bridge?" Naruto scowled. "Perhaps," Connor said after giving it some thought, "but I doubt anyone was hurt if it was. The bridge can be rebuilt, but lives cannot. We still have a lot of training to do." As he made a sword appear in his hand and Naruto took it out of the pack, Connor said, "No, try to make an illusion of a sword." Naruto nods, and Connor comments, "Since you're awake now, let's spar here in the real world. You should also work on that." Connor looked at Naruto and swung his sword at him, shattering it into a million pieces as he did so. Connor then sliced Naruto across the chest and remarked, "Again, you have to make it as real as possible to be able to use it effectively." Naruto nods, closes his eyes, and concentrates when he feels a sword appear in his hand. He then says, "All right, I did it." As he assumes a defensive stance, don't consider it to be an illusion. Imagine it as if it were real. With a metal blade, an ivory or wood handle, and a sharp blade, your delusions will be your undoing if you question them once more. Naruto nods and focuses intently. A second sword materializes, and when Connor strikes it, it withstands the initial blow but dissolves. Connor stated, You will feel it in the handle when a sword strikes something. Your illusion will be destroyed if it is not ready for reality. As he cut Naruto across the stomach, he recalled that, the more real an illusion is, the more real it will seem. Armor is good and all and would help you, but it can also be your undoing, Connor said, grinning as he watched Naruto make another sword and saw something else. He struck the sword, parried it away, and then turned behind Naruto and sliced him across the back. He stood behind Naruto and slashed his sword through his back and out of his stomach, dissolving the armor he was wearing. You can't protect every angle at once, and if your armor is not as real as normal armor. Following Naruto's painful fall to the ground, Connor waited for a short while before asking, "Ready?" Connor chuckled as Naruto glared at him. When Team 7 reached the bridge the following morning, Tazuna exhaled with relief and remarked, "Thank God it is still here. I had no doubt that it had been destroyed." Upon approaching the bridge, a man said, "Hello, you must be Tazuna." "Who are you?" Tazuna asked, nodding. "My name is not important," the man said. "I wanted to let you know that last night, Gato attempted to blow out the bridge's supports in an attempt to destroy it. Although the perpetrator blew himself up while intoxicated, some structural damage was done." Kakashi inquired, "How do you know?" "I noticed it when my new student ran by this morning," the man said. "About 2 miles down the coast. I spotted the man's body in the wreckage of the boat he was using, and he was concerned that the bridge had been destroyed." As he watched the man, Kakashi questioned, "What are you a teacher of?" "I am more of a worldly advisor than a teacher," the man stated. "I was just traveling through a foreign country on the opposite side of the globe in search of something that must find you but cannot be found after a young man had an encounter with Gato men. I recently assisted in saving his life. He suffered a fairly serious injury and will require some time to heal and come to terms with the changes brought about by the collision." "What does he look like?" inquired Sasuke as he started to leave. The man gave Sasuke a quick smirk and remarked, "I could tell you, but where's the fun in that?" When Kakashi approached the man, he said, "Wait." He paused and replied, "Yes." Kakashi inquired, "Is his name Naruto Uzumaki?" The man started to move through Kakashi, startling everyone as he vanished into gold, saying, "Like I said, where is the fun in that?" Shocked, Sasuke exclaimed, "What the hell was that?" Astonished, Kakashi asked himself, "What was that, and does he have Naruto?" After 2 weeks, I have no choice, Kakashi thought, frowning as he observed both of his students sinking into depression. To locate Naruto, I need someone else to come since that man arrived that day. Our team is disintegrating without him. In order to fix the damage to the supports, the bridge's progress was halted for almost a month. He took out a scroll and started writing on it, biting his thumb and flashing through hand signals before slamming his hands on the ground and saying, "Kachiyose no jutsu." A cloud of smoke appeared, and a pug-like dog stood there, looking at Kakashi and asking, "Yo, would you like to rub my paw?" "I apologize, Pukin, but I need you to bring a message to Konoha this time," Kakashi said. "I need the Hokage and the Hokage alone to take this scroll." "Is this about him?" Pukin asked with a nod. Kakashi said, "Very well, give me the scroll, Pukin." After placing the scroll in the small holder beneath Pukin's collar, Kakashi asked, "Exactly how am I supposed to get there from here?" as he looked around. With a sheepish expression, Kakashi said, Dog paddle. "So I can find you later." Pukin smirked as he ran off the bridge back toward Wave, jumped in the water, and started swimming. He growled, lifted his hind leg, and urinated on Kakashi's feet. "Wait, if you have a summoned dog, can't you have him track down the Dobi?" Sasuke asked after he left. "I already tried," Kakashi sighed after he followed Naruto into town. "We discovered his blood on the wall and followed a trail that led to Gato's mansion. From there, we followed it into the woods, where his scent disappeared. I searched the neighborhood, but all I could find were the remnants of a fire." Sakura interrupted Sasuke's frown by asking, "You said you found his blood, do you think?" "I don't know, Sakura," Kakashi uttered. "I waited to inform Konoha so that he would have time to come back, but I didn't say anything else." As some men began to yell, "It's Gato," Tazuna, who wasn't too far away, thought, "And so another person has fallen to Gato. Terrible rule, what the hell?" Earlier in the day when they reached a shipping dock while Connor was guiding Naruto through the woods, he turned to face one of the ships. Naruto stopped next to him and asked, "Why have we stopped, Connor-sensei?" "We still have to make it to the shores of Lock Shield so we can have our spar." Connor replied, "I think it's time for a new lesson. You also need a bath, you smell like a duck." Connor grinned back at Naruto, who blinked and glared at him, saying, "Come, I will explain on the way." "Not that this isn't cool, but how the hell did he talk me into this?" Naruto thought as he grabbed the anchor chain and started to pull himself out of the water 2 hours later. "Hey Connor, is this the right one? I mean, it don't look like the rest," he thought as he climbed aboard the boat. In his head, Connor said, "Of course it don't look like the rest. If you would have observed your surroundings earlier you would have realized why this one is different. This is that Gato guy's personal yacht. That is why the chain and anchor are smaller than the others that you saw down there. Now we got to work quickly, follow my orders." Naruto glanced around the yacht in a hurry and noticed 3 men on the dock below watching it, but there was nobody on the yacht itself entering the bridge. He switched the power on standby then, keeping low to avoid detection. Naruto went out to the 3 tow lines that were securing the yacht to the docks and he severed them until they were only hanging by a thin thread each. After that, he returned to the bridge and asked himself, "Now what?" Connor continued, "Now create a cage bunshin and have it sneak over to the ramp and have it cut the ramp free when you start the motors and hit the raise button on the anchor. After that you throw the engines in reverse. Grab that wheel and slowly start turning it to the left when you are facing the opposite direction that you are now. Throw it slowly in forward and we will take it out of here." With a nod, Naruto conjures up a cage bunshin, thinking, "Damn, that took a lot out of me and that was only 1. Connor replied, "Remember Naruto, you don't have kyubi chakra to boost your own now, so you won't be able to make as many as you did before. I say you would be lucky to make 20 at full reserves now, but you can get more with more training. Now go." Naruto nods and watches as his clone cuts the ramp. After he sent it to its task, the clone stood up and said, "Go tell Gato go fuck himself." The men on the dock heard the ramp fall against the dock at that moment, and one of them yelled, "Hey, what are you doing?" After starting the engine and pressing the raise button for the anchor, Naruto thought, "Why does my clone have to be a smart ass?" His perspiration dropped. "Hurry, come on." One of the guards snatched the tow line and started climbing it, causing the other men to grab their own. However, as the yacht started to back up, the line the man was on snapped with the other 2 lines, and he fell into the water, yelling, "Ah." When Naruto saw the clone ascend in smoke, he chuckled as he recalled the incident. He blinked briefly and asked himself, "Wait a second, how did I know what he saw?" Connor replied, "About time you realized that, but we need to get out of here. Remember, focus." When Naruto noticed that the yacht had completely turned around, he blinked, put it forward, and started to steer it away from the dock. Upon emerging from the water, the man who had fallen said, "Gato is not going to be happy about this." An additional man inquired, "What should we do?" In his words, "We need to tell Gato." The second man and the wet man exchanged glances before turning to face the third man and stating, "You can do it." The third man started to leave, saying, "Fuck that, I quit." As they departed, the other 2 men exchanged glances, shrugged their shoulders, and concluded that it would be better to flee than to perish. As Naruto maneuvered the boat in the direction of the bridge, a few of the men spotted the ship and exclaimed, "It's Gato." When Naruto saw the men from the bridge after Team 7 had run to their location, he scowled and closed his eyes, thinking, "I need to tell them something about me so they won't worry too much." He then put it on autopilot and left the bridge, and Sasuke, whose face flushed, exclaimed, "What the hell, that guy is wearing a dress." Kakashi's eyes widened, and Sakura let out a cry of, "Oh god, I'm Scar for life." Tazuna questioned, "How the hell did he get Gato yacht and who is he?" as Naruto turned to face them. As Naruto put it, "Oi Kakashi, you missing someone?" Kakashi squinted and inquired, "What do you mean?" Naruto replied, "I got a message from him for you, but not now. To many who don't know about S-rank shit, midnight, northeast side of the island, and don't get lost on the road of life or let a black cat keep you away." "Where is he?" inquired Kakashi as he turned to head back into the boat. Naruto said, "Closer than you think, but some crazy shit went down since he left. Come alone and leave the kiddies." A kunai struck next to his head, and Naruto turned to see Kakashi standing on the boat behind him. "Where is Naruto?" he asked. With his voice reduced to a barely audible whisper, Naruto said, "You mean Kushina and Minato's son? You really want the world to hear that dad had a son? Or Sasuke Teme and Sakura-chan hear about Kyubi being inside me?" Kakashi's eyes widened and he said, "Is that you, Naruto?" Naruto replied, "Yeah, remember the fox chakra that leaked recently? Well, the fox is dead, and as you can see I don't look the same anymore. I'm still trying to get used to the changes. Come alone tonight so we can talk privately. I don't want to say too much around the others until we both can tell the same story." Kakashi responded, "If you're really Naruto, how did you get past the Hokage to get the Forbidden Scroll?" Smirking, Naruto uttered the words, "Sexy no jutsu." Kakashi said, "I see. How do you know about Minato and Kushina?" while discreetly rubbing his head while glancing at Naruto with his Sharingan. As he turned on the engine, Naruto said, "Later Teme trying to read my lips and Sakura fixing to start screaming, and I need to get out of here before Gato patrol boats find me and decide to attack the bridge." However, there was no Kakashi left, and Connor asked, "Are you really going to tell him the truth?" Naruto was thinking, "Hell no, I don't trust him and he doesn't trust me. I will think of something later." "Right, We got training to do anyways, Connor said. With a sigh, Naruto maneuvered the boat away. Upon returning to the bridge, Kakashi looked around and inquired, "Where did Sasuke go?" She stated, "He said he was going to find Naruto and make that guy talk," and took off running down the bridge. Sensei. With a scowl and a quick thought, Kakashi said, "Sakura, try to catch Sasuke and stop him. I will stay and guard the client and the bridge." "Hi Sensei." Sakura exclaimed as she started to run after Sasuke, whom she saw heading in the direction of the yacht. Following Connor's instructions, Naruto boarded a dinghy and started rowing it toward the shore. When he reached the northeastern portion of the island, he thought, "So what now? I stole the yacht so we could get a stupid dinghy that I could have gotten a hell of a lot easier." As he reached the shore, Connor replied, "Duck." After learning to heed Connor's advice, Naruto ducked just in time to see a figure fly over his head and Sasuke skid to a stop a short distance away. "What the hell, Teme?" he asked. With a scowl, Sasuke questioned Naruto, "Where is he?" As he had to duck under a punch, dodge a kick, and block another punch, Naruto questioned, "Where is who?" Naruto yelled, "Stop it, asshole," as he leapt back when Sasuke forced him into a taijutsu match. When Sasuke started making hand signals, Naruto acted swiftly and drew his sword. As Sasuke inhaled deeply, Naruto swung his sword at him, causing him to halt and roll to the side in order to prevent Sasuke from attacking again. Naruto continued to swing his sword in a reverse grip, keeping the sharp blade constantly away from Sasuke and causing multiple bruises. Sasuke noticed that things were slowing down. While he was on the defensive, he was able to dodge more easily and used one of his two kunai to stab Naruto in the arm and deflect the sword. With a growl, Naruto withdrew the kunai from his arm and launched a frantic attack on Sasuke, cutting him multiple times. He asked, panting as he leapt back, "Where is he?" Naruto responded, "Why the hell do you want to know so badly, Teme? You treat him like shit and act like you're better than him." As he charged at Naruto, Sasuke remarked, "He's my teammate." He attempted to strike Naruto, but was struck in the stomach by the flat side of Naruto's sword instead. Naruto replied, "Bullshit to you. He was nothing but the dobi, the dead last, the one you left tied to a log after the bell test, walking away, the cold-hardened asshole who doesn't care for anyone but killing a certain someone." With a breathless voice, Sasuke looked down and uttered, "You're wrong. It's because I love him." Sasuke leapt forward and attempted to slam his other kunai into Naruto's other arm as he blinked, trying to make sense of what he had heard. However, Naruto moved and was stabbed in the heart, and he gasped as he began to fall backwards to the ground. When Connor saw this, he smirked, took quick action, and transformed Naruto into his former self. Sasuke's eyes widened as Naruto's body changed shape and shimmered gold, and he thought, "No, it can't be, oh god, please no." He knelt down, tore open Naruto's shirt, and took out the kunai, and tried to administer basic first aid to help save Naruto, only to discover that he was dead. Looking at Naruto's body, Sasuke started to cry and screamed, "No!" His eyes burned and changed into the Magna-Q Sharingan. Sakura was running through the trees in the woods, trying to locate Sasuke, when she heard a scream of, "No!" Thinking, "That's Sasuke-kun." She accelerated and went in the direction of the shout. Soon after, she came upon a clearing where she saw Sasuke on his knees on the ground. Her eyes widened upon seeing Naruto's body, and she thought, "No, it can't be, he can't be dead." She fell to her knees and started to cry quietly as memories of Naruto raced through her mind. "Sakura-chan, would you go out with me? Would you like to work on our teamwork? I won't die until I am Hokage. I will be Hokage. I like you, Sakura-chan." After what seemed like an eternity of sitting on his knees, Sasuke was shocked when Naruto's body jerked forward, gasping for air before collapsing back to the ground. As she saw Naruto alive, Sakura, who was in the tree, gasped and thought, "But how Sasuke-kun was sure he was dead." When Sasuke noticed Naruto looking around, he scooted backwards away from him, grabbed his sword, and screamed, "What the hell, Teme?" With a trembling voice, Sasuke questioned, "Dobi, is that really you?" "Listen quickly," Connor said in Naruto's mind, "I changed you to look like your old self." "What the hell was that about you in love with me, Teme?" That, Naruto said, glancing down at his body and seeing his orange jumpsuit torn open. Sakura's expression was bewildered as she wondered, what does he mean, Sasuke in love with him? She made a silent effort to blend in better so she could watch what was happening. After giving Naruto a quick glance, Sasuke said, "How are you alive? I killed you." The words, "Sasuke-kun killed him, but how, why, nothing makes sense," caused Sakura's eyes to widen. "No, you first, Teme. Are you really gay or?" Naruto scowled. Sasuke huffed a few breaths angrily and screamed, "I'm not gay." As Sakura heard Sasuke's response, she released a breath she had been holding. I think, Naruto began, but as he emerged from the woods, Connor's voice interrupted him, saying, I think you should look closer, Namikaze, things are not as they appear. With a kunai ready to defend himself, Sasuke leapt to his feet and yelled, it's you, the guy from before, who the hell are you? Disregarding Sasuke, Naruto questioned, what do you mean, Connor-sensei? With a glance between Naruto and Connor, Sasuke questioned, what the hell's going on here, Dobi? The name is Connor McLeod, and you could say that I am Naruto-sensei, Connor said, glancing at Sasuke. On the defensive, Sasuke uttered, Kakashi-sensei is our sensei. Looking at Sasuke, Naruto blinked and said, whoa, wait a minute, lass, as in female. When Sakura heard that, she almost fell from the tree she was in and shifted to see what was happening more clearly. After Sasuke gave Naruto a startled look, Connor responded, yes, close your eyes and concentrate, Naruto, like I have been training you. As his body started to shimmer, Sasuke frowned and said, what's going on here, who are you? And a black-haired girl with creamy pale skin, black eyes, and a B-cup breast, slender hips, and toned body took his place. Naruto's eyes widened as he was blown back with a nosebleed, his body shimmering, and his actual body taking his place. Sakura stopped moving and stared at what was happening, thinking, is that really Naruto? What happened to him? Is this all some kind of bad dream or something? Her eyes widened, and she thought, it can't be Sasuke-kun is a girl and I mean she is in love with Naruto. What the hell is going on? Will you explain to me exactly what the hell is going on? Sasuke asked, giving Connor a fierce look. Connor chuckled and replied, ha 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 ha, sorry, now why don't you tell me exactly why you were in an illusion and maybe I will tell you what's going on. With a frown, Sasuke turned to face Naruto and uttered, and why should I? Connor replied, because you don't know how to turn back into a guy and you need our help. With widened eyes, Sasuke questioned, how? Leaning against a tree, Connor said, it's a kind of magic lass, so you want to explain? We're all ears. He gestured to Sakura, who was in the tree on the other side of the clearing, but neither Naruto nor Sasuke could see her, and Naruto, who was slowly getting to his feet while wiping his nose. Naruto said, Sasuke Teme, what's going on? Why are you a girl and why did you say you love me? As Sasuke bit her lip and looked down. Sasuke sighed and said, woman or weak woman have no rights except as breeders and servants to their betters. Those are the views of the world we live in and the words of the Uchiha clan. My mother, in order for me to have a chance at a life, placed a powerful genjutsu on me with her Sharingan at birth. According to Connor, it was an illusion, not a genjutsu. That was why it still worked even after her death. And how do you know that? Sasuke snarled after giving Connor a quick glance. Naruto remarked, because you were thinking about her dying. With wide eyes, Sasuke thought, they can read my mind. According to Connor, not exactly but close. When Sakura heard Sasuke's words, her eyes widened as well. So her mother forced her to lie since birth, but why hasn't she told anyone the truth after she died? She thought. Sasuke turned to Naruto and said, so your mother made you look like a guy because of some stupid belief that women are weak. Well, that explains why you won't date any of your fan. Wait a minute, that means I kissed a girl. With a frown, Sasuke said, Dobi, stop talking. Looking down, Naruto uttered, Teme, did you mean it? Sasuke snarled, what? According to Naruto, that you love me. With a quick thought, Sasuke asked, how are you still alive? I stabbed you in the heart. Sasuke and Naruto both flinched when they saw Sakura standing on a tree, and Connor said, why don't you come on out, lass? I am sure you want to know just as badly as they do. Connor had noticed that Naruto and Sasuke were staring at each other. What is going on here? Kakashi-sensei sent me to catch Sasuke-kun and now I'm so confused. Are you really a girl, Sasuke-kun, and are you really Naruto? She asked, swallowing and hopping down slowly before approaching. When Connor realized this, he gradually disappeared, going unnoticed. How much did you hear? Asked Naruto, biting his lip. Sakura responded, I arrived when you were thought to be dead. With a sigh, Naruto turned to face his teammates and asked, do you know why everyone glared at me back in the village and the harsh words they said about me? Sasuke replied, I know about the kyubi if that is what you're wondering. Sakura looked perplexed and said, the kyubi, what about it? Naruto said, I guess that's a good start, while closing his eyes. Sasuke murmured, let me Dobi. The day the Dobi here was born was the same day the kyubi attacked Konoha. The Yondaime was unable to kill the kyubi, so he went with the only option, sealing it into a newborn baby so that way when the baby died the kyubi would die. Sakura looked at him with a mixture of emotions, including fear, and quickly put two and two together by biting her lip and saying, "It was you, weren't it, Naruto?" Naruto replied, "Yeah, but how did you know, Teme? I only found out after Mizuki Teme tried to kill me the day of graduation. Before that I didn't even know why I was treated the way I was." When he looked at Sasuke. Sasuke looked at him and replied, "I don't know everything, but my clan took part of the blame for the Kyubi attack since one of my ancestors supposedly could control the Kyubi with our bloodline. My father hated you because of the blame we took, and so he told me about you before I ever entered the academy so that I would hate you also and hopefully someday kill you, but..." Naruto looked up and said, "But," with a sigh, Sasuke uttered, "My mother told me you were a hero because without you the entire village would have been destroyed, and so I didn't know what to think, but he told me that I should observe you and make my own decision." Her voice was venomous. Exasperated, Sakura grabbed her hair and said, "Sasuke-ku, Sasuke-chan, is Sasuke even your real name?" Sasuke replied, "Yeah, and sorry I didn't tell you or the others, but I don't know how to do or undo that genjutsu or illusion or whatever it was my mother put on me, and since everyone already thought I was a boy and telling me my responsibilities as the only Uchiha, I had no way to tell anyone, as everyone except Naruto here treated me as the precious Uchiha, but nobody ever really tried to get to know the real me," as she turned her back. Sakura defensively remarked, "But I tried to get to know you." Sasuke replied, "No you didn't, you like everyone else listened to everything everyone else said about me, like some said I like girls with long hair or I like girls who look certain way, and then you fight like a pack of rabid animals," and she stopped when she saw Sakura staring down. With a sigh, Naruto closed his eyes and remarked, "We are the most screwed up team ever." Sasuke's body briefly shimmered gold before turning back into a man's. Sakura looked up as Sasuke narrowed her eyes and said, "What are you doing, Dobi?" "Naruto Uzumaki is dead, Sasuke. He got captured by one of Gato men and he had to kill the man to escape, but later died from injuries killing the Kyubi inside him," Naruto said as he got up and started to leave. "Bullshit. You're the Dobi, why are you telling me that you're dead?" "I love you, damn it," said Sasuke as she stood up. Naruto glanced at her and said, "If you do then let me go, Sasuke. I've been given a chance at a new life. I should have never have said anything to Kakashi at the bridge to try and tell you all I was alright. You wouldn't have thought you killed me and Sakura would still be happy with you until she finally gave up and found her someone who made her happy, and you would have eventually awoke your Sharingan and figured out how to dispel the illusion and let people know who you are on your own instead of like this." Sakura inquired, "But what about us, Naruto? Don't you care for us? I thought we were teammates." Naruto took a breath and said, "I was a failure as a teammate, Sakura-chan. I've had to take a hard look at my life after I died and was revived, and I had to deal with the changes that happened to me. You and Sasuke both deserve a better teammate than me. Someone who won't put you in danger for being weak. Someone who doesn't get himself captured, who is not the dead last. Come on, Connor-sensei. Let's get out of here." As he looked around and inquired, "Where did he go this time?" "I think he wanted to let us talk privately," Sasuke said, glancing around as well. "How did you meet him anyway, and why do you call him sensei?" Naruto heard laughter in his head as he thought, "Sneaky bastard," he continued. "He was the one who saved me. Connor helped me with my first kill and with the changes to me, and he helped me in a few other ways. He helped me see my first memory, so I know who my parents are now, at least a little about them." According to Sasuke, the Yondaime is your dad, right? Sasuke grinned and remarked, "You look like him, or you used to look like him. You still do, but not as much." Sakura's eyes widened in surprise. Naruto had a shocked expression. Sighing, Naruto remarked, "Yeah, he was my father, and my mother was a red-headed woman named Kushina. I'm glad for you, Dobi, to find out about them. What happened after you found out about your parents?" said Sasuke with a slight smile. "Connor, he offered me a choice and I took it. This body I am in isn't exactly my original body," Naruto remarked, casting a downward glance. "What do you mean?" Sasuke asked, his eyes widening. Naruto stated, "My other body was dead or would have been in a few moments when he found me, but my soul wasn't, and with his help I did a ritual that created a very special clone. I designed the clone to look like a cross between both my parents, which is why one of my eyes is green and I have red highlights in my hair in honor of my mother. The ritual then switched my soul into the clone's body and it gave Kyubi my old body." Before she could respond, Naruto uttered the words, "I killed it, Sasuke, and Sakura-chan, I killed my old body, killing the Kyubi." Sasuke gasped. "But what happens if the clone dispels, Naruto?" Sakura inquired. "Remember, this is a unique kind of clone. It is as if it were my actual body," but Naruto said, shaking his head. "But," Sasuke inquired. Naruto stated, "My freedom from the Kyubi didn't come without a price. You already saw one of the prices earlier." After giving it some thought, Sasuke questioned, "Is that how you're still alive after I killed you?" Naruto replied, "Yeah, I cannot die, or at least not that I know of." So you're immortal, Sasuke said, biting her lip. Can I tell them the truth about me and a little about you? Naruto asks as he collapses on the grass and lies there staring at the sun. Connor replied, it's your choice and your life, Naruto. I am merely teaching you what you need to get started and you will go from there. According to Naruto, something like that, Connor said to Naruto in his head, play along. I will help you. When he appeared in the middle of the three shocking Sasuke and Sakura and said, perhaps I can explain it a little better for you, Naruto, since you only know the basic. Allow me to introduce myself to you both. I am Connor MacLeod of the clan MacLeod. I was born in the year 1518 AD in Glenfinnan, Scotland, near the shores of Loch Shiel, and I am immortal. I have seen many things in my life and learned many things. Some of those are how I was able to save Naruto before his body died and how to make sure Kyubi would never return. Biting her lip, Sakura questioned, but how is Naruto immortal, or is he? Connor sat down, looked at Naruto, and said, your time with me is nearly over, Naruto. After I leave here today, you won't ever see me again until you pass my final test. I have taught you more than what I was taught when I first became immortal, but we are still connected thanks to this. He held up his hand, and Naruto, sensing what Connor wanted, held up his hand as well. As they drew closer, lightning formed between their hands, and Naruto then uttered the words, the quickening. Connor replied, yes, I gave his new body part of my power to save his life, which is why he is like I am. Consider it a random bloodline that appears with no reason at all. Luckily for Naruto, I have learned enough to give a small part of my power away. Can you do it for anyone? Inquired Sasuke. Connor glanced at Sasuke and replied, no, the only reason I actually could do it for Naruto was because of the kyubi that was in him. The clone Naruto made desired a huge amount of chakra to make. I arranged for it to luckily come from kyubi. Since Naruto didn't have enough himself, it weakened kyubi enough so that in the end Naruto could kill kyubi. Sakura inquired, so exactly is going to happen to Naruto? I mean, will he just grow older and older, or does he quit aging, or? Connor stated that power comes at a price. Sakura, Naruto body won't age just like mine or the others. Blinking, Naruto said, others? I thought that. Connor intervened and replied, no, remember I told you about there going to be a final test you will have to pass, Naruto, right now, including you and me. There are about 100 of us left in the world. It is the time of the new gathering, Naruto. In the end, there can be only one. You know what that means, right? After giving it some thought, Naruto remarked, they're coming for me, aren't they? According to Connor, some will, Naruto replied. But I am not ready. I only know a little. I'm not strong enough to fight others who have been hunting each other for hundreds of years. Connor replied, you know more than enough, Naruto. Remember what I taught you. Can we have one more spar then, please, just to make sure I know what you think I do? Naruto said with a sigh. Connor got to his feet and remarked, very well, I won't hold back, though you need to realize this won't be easy or a game. Sakura approached Sasuke, who appeared distressed, and inquired, did you never feel anything for me? Truthfully, I did feel something for you. You don't have as much pussy thrown at you like I did without being curious, Sasuke said after giving her a brief glance. Oi, Sakura-chan, get up here and let's see what our teammate has been learning, because I sure as hell am not letting him leave us even if he doesn't care for me. Besides being a rival, I still want him in my life, even if he is different. Don't you agree? Sakura was the first to recover after Naruto, Connor, and Sakura all face failed. At that point she yelled, "Pervert," as she struck Sasuke over the head, causing him to transform into a log and appear on a tree limb. As she and Sasuke leapt into the tree, Sakura gulped and uttered, "Yeah, of course, but we are so going to have a talk about all this once they get done. I want answers from both you and him. You need to get that fixed soon or it will break and it could cost you your life," Connor said as Naruto took his sword from the bag. "I don't want you to hold back on anything because I will use everything I know to beat you. Do you understand?" With a nod, Naruto lifts the sword above his head and points with his other hand in Connor's direction. Connor extended his hand, and a gold-plated sword similar to Naruto's materialized before Connor adopted Naruto's position. After giving him a brief glance, Naruto started to slowly circle to the left. Connor turned slowly, allowing Naruto to circle him. Naruto then charged at Connor, but the entire clearing changed to resemble a hospital room as their swords struck. The Yondaime and a red-headed woman were in a hospital room when Sasuke and Sakura's eyes widened and they saw Naruto and Connor locked in a struggle for control. Naruto snarled, "That's low, Connor. This is my memory of my parents, bastard. You know how precious this is to me." As the scene in the hospital unfolded, Connor kicked Naruto. He then proceeded to the ceiling and said, "Of course it is Naruto. I am not your sensei now, I am your enemy. I told you I won't hold back and neither will any of the others. They will use those you care about as bait to draw you into battles where they will have an advantage. They will make your life hell. My sensei, Ramirez, To weaken me, one killed him and then raped my first wife while I was away. This is not a game, whoever is the last one, Naruto, because I saw all your memories of your entire life. The scene cut to the graduation day, where Mizuki attacked Naruto. Remember what I told you, we are born to be kings, princes of the universe. Naruto, no man can be our equals, there can be only one. Connor slashed Naruto across the stomach twice, causing Naruto to wince and fall back. Naruto stood up, holding his ribs, and assumed another stance. This time, Connor charged, and Naruto was on the defensive, blocking every blow but being pushed back, unable to counterattack. As Sakura watched, Sasuke remarked, "So that was how he graduated. Remind me to kill that bastard if I ever see him." Sakura inquired, "What is all of this, Sasuke? Why is Connor actually hurting him? I thought this was supposed to be a spar." "Because this isn't a spar, Sakura. Look at the dobi. What do you see?" Sasuke said, frowning at Naruto. As Sakura watched Naruto block multiple blows before being slashed across the back, she remarked, "He's getting his ass kicked." Sasuke nodded her head and responded, "No, Sakura, he doubts himself, he doubts who he is. What he is. You may have not noticed it when we were in the academy, but his confidence in himself was what kept him going. No matter how many times people called him the dead last, the idiot, he would take it all and keep going because he believed in himself that he would someday prove everyone wrong." Connor sees it also. If you don't believe in yourself, the battle is already lost. Both Sakura and Sasuke recoiled when they heard the startling words, "Very true, Sasuke-chan." They turned to see Kakashi standing behind them. Sakura inquired, "Kakashi-sensei, what are you doing here and how long have you been here?" Kakashi, who was observing Naruto and Connor, "I created a cage bunshin to follow you, Sakura, and so I saw and heard everything you did. Naruto gotten pretty good at kenjutsu and he appears to still have traces of his healing ability, and I see you awoke your Sharingan, Sasuke." When Sasuke's eyes widened, she said, "I did?" The action shifted to the Tazuna house down in the clearing, where Naruto exploded at Inari while the others watched him enter the town and get thrashed by Gato men. Kakashi looked at it with a frown and thought, "I should have followed you, Naruto, then you would not have suffered like that." Sasuke's eyes have changed into that, I wonder him. He continued, "Yes, though it appears you also awoke the Magna-Q Sharingan as well. Killing Naruto made you feel grief over it since you care for him." As Naruto screamed after being stabbed in the stomach, Sasuke's eyes looked down. He began to move, but Kakashi grabbed her shoulder and Sakura's and said, "No, he's alright." "How can you be sure?" Sasuke asked, glaring at Kakashi. "Trust me," Kakashi said, thinking, "I see what he meant." Rewind. Connor shocked Kakashi by appearing next to him after Sakura left, saying, "I see my student has surprised you, huh?" The voice startled Kakashi, who turned to face Connor and asked, "Is he really Naruto?" Connor replied, "Yes, I think you might want to send a cage bunshin though to follow those two, though they're about to find some interesting things about themselves if my guess is right." "Why hasn't Naruto returned before now?" inquired Kakashi. Connor replied, "Because he does not believe in himself now, and if he returns now then he will die the next time he goes into battle. Send a cage bunshin, but don't interrupt. No matter what, no one will be harmed, but Naruto needs his confidence back," as he turned into gold and vanished. Final flashback. "Why are you holding back? You are better than this. You are a ninja, Naruto. Use what you know to fight back. Don't let the past control you. Your friends need you, and if you don't stand up for yourself then they will die," Connor said, continuing to hold his sword through Naruto's stomach. With a snarl, Naruto declared, "I don't have friends, I don't have anyone." Connor ripped the sword out and leapt back, asking, "What about your teammates? You learned one of them loves you and another cried when she thought you died?" The other members of Team 7 flinched at that. "So be it. I thought you never gave up, never surrendered, but now I see as you are nothing but a scared little boy who is always crying and can't help anyone, let alone himself. If this is the person I believed in to give a second chance, then I made a mistake, but perhaps I should give you a taste of what's to come. Goodbye," Connor said as he snapped his fingers and dissolved into gold. Naruto had fallen to his knees, and Connor noticed him looking down with his neck exposed. Everyone gasped when they saw this one because it was Naruto's old body, but his eyes were red and his facial marks were darker. Looking around the clearing, he saw that it had transformed into a building without windows or doors. Sakura, Sasuke, and Kakashi all fell to the ground as the trees vanished, startling them. But Kakashi rose in smoke as Sasuke's illusion broke, revealing the true her. Naruto thought, "This feels just like the kyubi," as he experienced a sick feeling in his stomach. Well, the man said, "This is unexpected. I am taken aback. I was certain that I was dead, but now I am alive and immortal again. I used to fantasize about devouring your bones and flesh, but now I'm just a human. Well, I suppose I'll just take your head before stealing both of your women. Demons like me love female virgins," he said, drawing a regular sword. When Sakura and Sasuke stood up and took out their kuniyas, they both had terrified expressions on their faces. With a terrified expression on his face, Naruto, still on his knees, turned to face his elderly body as it approached him while brandishing his sword. "How are you alive, Kyubi?" he asked. "I took your life." "Don't make me laugh," said Kyubi with a sly smile. "I wasn't killed by you, that's what my old container did." "What were those words again?" "You are nothing in comparison to him." "Yeah, there can only be one." When he heard the sound of metal piercing flesh, Naruto closed his eyes. He turned to see that the Kyubi had stopped and that he had multiple kunais in his back. "I won't let you hurt him," declared Sasuke as he began to approach them. Kyubi grinned and remarked, "Really? Then I guess I will just have my fun with you first." Naruto watched him approach them while Sasuke said, "Phoenix. Fireball jutsu." She exhaled multiple fireballs that struck the Kyubi, causing his clothes to start burning slightly. He grunted in pain but continued to move. Sakura began to back up and threw a few kunais at him, but she soon discovered that she was unable to move because of a wall behind her. "This isn't good," Sasuke thought as he searched for anything that could be of assistance. "How is it possible to destroy an immortal thing?" He tries to cut her, but she blocks with a kunai and is knocked to her knees. The Kyubi said, "Let's see how well you can breath fire when you're screaming." While he was witnessing this, Naruto heard an unfamiliar voice ask, "Are you really going to let them die? Do you not give a damn about them? Is this the legacy I left behind?" In his mind, Naruto saw an elderly man wearing a red outfit and with white hair pulled back. He asked, "Who are you?" The individual replied, "I am Ramirez, and who might you be, young immortal?" According to Naruto Uzumaki. "No, you are not," Ramirez said. Naruto Uzumaki had a strong will to succeed and would defend those he loved. "You're not him." "And how do you know that?" Scowled Naruto. Naruto felt his own hand glow as Ramirez grinned and held up his gold-glowed hand, saying, "We are connected through a bond that can never be broken." With a scowl, Naruto remarked, "I see," Ramirez responded. "Do you really care so little for those two girls that you would let that man take them and then kill them while you sat on your knees waiting for death?" "But I am not strong enough to defeat him," Naruto said, glancing at him. "In my village, I am the last person to die, the idiot, and the scourge. I believed I had already killed him, but he has returned and seems stronger than ever." "And does that mean you just want to give up and die, to never feel love, friendship, or happiness?" Ramirez questioned. "Would you like to let that demon ruin you and simply prove to everyone that they were correct about you?" Biting his lip, Naruto uttered, "But what if I am not strong enough?" "Listen to me," said Ramirez as he approached. "I discovered long ago that there are two types of strength. There is the type that results from hard work and training, and there is the type that arises when you value something so much that you would sacrifice everything, including your life, to keep it safe. Now respond to this question: would you rather fight with all of your strength to keep those you cared about safe, or would you rather live your life feeling alone and hurt because you saw them die to keep you safe while you did nothing? You should save those girls if you care about them, but if not, do nothing and watch as he kills them. Prove to everyone that you are a hero and not a coward, the last person alive, or an idiot." When Naruto regained consciousness, he saw Sakura resting against the wall with the Kyubi foot on her neck, Sasuke on her knees with her kunais crossed to block the sword, and both girls crying. "Save them and win the prize, but remember, there can only be one." "Do I have the strength to save them?" Naruto thought as he bit his lip and had flashbacks to his time spent with both of the girls on Team 7. He briefly closed his eyes. When Naruto opened his eyes after hearing Sasuke scream, he saw that the Kyubi had his sword on the ground, his other hand around Sakura's neck, and his hand around her throat, holding her in midair. "Leave them alone," Naruto said. "You want me," as he pulled Sasuke forward and planted a kiss on her before slamming her against the wall, causing her to scream. Kyubi turned to face Naruto and remarked, "In time I will kill you, but first I want to make you suffer." With a growl, Naruto said, "Let them go," and rose slowly to his feet. Kyubi said, laughing, "Or what? I am a demon, and you are just a frail human." Furious, Naruto snatched up his sword and yelled, "I killed you once and I will kill you again, Kyubi." When Kyubi said, "Really, I would like to see you try," and slammed both girls hard against the wall, knocking them out, he laughed even harder. With his other hand, Naruto gestured for his sword to rise above his head, saying, "Come then." The walls surrounding them started to crumble and the clearing gradually returned to normal as Kyubi grabbed his sword and charged at Naruto more quickly than Naruto had anticipated. Naruto actually started to land blows on Kyubi, and as they engaged in a strength-testing duel, Naruto was pushing Kyubi away. He was too preoccupied with the battle to notice that Sakura, Sasuke, and Kakashi were all three still in the tree or that their bodies had turned to gold. "See," I promised you he would get it back, Connor, who was also in the tree, said. Did you really have to have that kyubi kiss me like that? Snarled Sasuke. Connor replied, not really, but I had to make him believe it was real. Sakura inquired, but why are these genjutsu so real? According to Kakashi, I have wondered that myself. Connor looked at Kakashi and said, right now Kakashi, you are a perfect example of why it is real. You're nothing but a cage bunshin while the real you is with Tazuna, but if you, the cage bunshin, killed Sasuke or Sakura, would either of them be any less dead? Since the dawn of time, men have learned the secrets of the universe. Today you use chakra to perform all kinds of things that should not be possible, like breathing fire, forming dragons out of water, causing earthquakes and lightning storms. All of these are combined by using the two powers of mental and physical energy together to make them happen right. What people forget is there is a third type of power in the body. Spiritual power, the power that drives each of us the will to get back up when you're knocked down. Naruto has more spirit than nearly anyone I have ever met in all my years. Add that into the natural instincts the kyubi had that was partially absorbed into his soul from being his jinchuriki, and Naruto is able to do illusions that would take others years to do. That is why older men fall for his sexy no jutsu, because like Sasuke illusion her mother placed on her, the sight, sound, taste, smell, and touch of it all feels real. That is why her mother was able to pass her off as a boy all these years. Kakashi inquired, so you're saying that Naruto is using his spiritual energy to make his illusions? Connor continued, and that is also why he fails to detect genjutsu. Usually also his instincts are attuned to pick up illusions that are more real than genjutsu. To him genjutsu are nothing but moving pictures all around him, and he doesn't know that he can stop them. If you want to help him with this problem, you will have to teach him to detect chakra usage around him. Kakashi responded, why are you helping him though? What is in it for you? Connor said, from the dawn of time we came, moving silently down through the centuries, leading many secret lives. Struggling to reach the time of the gathering, when the few who remain, will battle to the last. It happened already. I was the last one. With each immortal we killed, we took their knowledge they had gathered and their power. That was the prize. With it the winner could help bring world peace or become the ruler of the world through fear and power. A god among men, I have hundreds of thousands of years of knowledge from all over the world in me, but I don't want the prize of this knowledge. I just want to die to be with my beloved Heather again and my other loves as well, but the only way I can die is if someone took my power and my knowledge, because there can be only one. I want Naruto to be that one, but he is not ready for it. He does not know what it truly means to be human by feeling love, happiness, friendship and other things like that. I believe that he will though, and that is why I am giving him this test. Sakura questioned, what is the test exactly? As she watched Kyubi and Naruto strike more quickly while neither was hit. Connor glanced at her and said, I have split my knowledge into 100 fragments. I gave Naruto one fragment and kept one myself. The rest I have given to 98 immortals that I killed in my life, and they are now alive again. Their bodies are restoring themselves, and they all know about Naruto and how I hope he is the last one. They will come to these lands and they will meet each other, getting stronger and stronger. Some could be here in as little as a few weeks and others years, but they will come and he will have to pass the test or die. In the end there can be only one, and whoever is the last one will have the prize. I pray Naruto is the one though. Sasuke inquired, if it comes down to you a him, would you kill him? As Kyubi vanished and Connor shimmered away, Connor said, I won't live that long. Last, don't give up on him. Naruto was panting when Connor appeared in front of him and remarked, good, you finally got your resolve back, now let's go. What the hell's going on, Connor? Naruto asked, glancing at him. Are you prepared for your final test, Naruto? Because here it comes. Try and block this strike, because if you don't you die. Connor adopted a stance and charged at Naruto, who blocked Connor, then grabbed Naruto's arm and moved both blades behind Naruto's head. After giving Connor a quick glance, Naruto declared, I won't die, not now, I will block your strike. Connor replied, I hope so, because if you are not fast enough to block it, my blade will come around and take your head. Do you understand? This is my ultimate attack, one that has never been defeated by anyone I faced. After taking a few deep breaths, Naruto firmly grasped the handle of his sword and declared, I'm ready, Connor. As he pulled against Naruto's sword toward his neck, Connor grinned and said, goodbye, there can only be one. Naruto pushed away behind him with everything he had, and Connor grinned and let go of his sword, unable to stop himself. Naruto brought his blade around, slicing Connor's head off as his body fell to the ground. The girls gasped, and Sakura, Kakashi, and Sasuke all had wide eyes in the trees. When he saw the body start to rise a little and white light start to come out of it, Naruto's eyes widened and he thought, oh god, no, please no. Then, lightning struck the nearby trees, causing Kakashi, Sakura, and Sasuke to jump down in terror. Naruto screamed in agony as lightning struck him. Arching his head back as more and more lightning struck him. After a few moments, it stopped and he fell to the ground, unconscious. When Sakura and Sasuke ran to him, Sasuke flipped him over, exhaled, and declared, "He's alive." Kakashi then approached them and inquired, "What was that?" Naruto let out a groan, opened his eyes gradually, and glanced around at the 3 other members of Team 7. They all appeared concerned. He sat up quickly, turned to face the ground where he saw Connor's body, and said, "I understand." As Sakura put it, "Understand what, Naruto?" Naruto breathed a sigh of relief as Connor made sure that he would lose his power to me. He divided his knowledge among 100 of us, including himself and me. He gave me the knowledge of Ramirez, his teacher, but did not unlock it until I was fighting Kyubi, and now his own knowledge that he experienced, the others will be coming for me. Get my knowledge and power. He tricked me with that final move to push against his blade as hard as I could, so that way when it broke free of the resistance that it would be going at full power at him to take his head and his power. According to Kakashi, so it was a suicide move. Naruto replied, "Only for the person who is standing in front of the person whose blade is behind his neck." "So what do you plan to do now, Naruto?" Kakashi inquired. Taking a deep breath, Naruto uttered, "I don't know, so much has happened and I don't know anymore." "So," Sasuke said, "then come back to us, Dobi. If you truly love me, Teme, then why the hell do you call me Dobi all the time?" snarled Naruto. "Because it's my pet name for you, Dobi-kun," smirked Sasuke. "Shikamaru right, women are troublesome," Naruto remarked with a laugh. As they struck him over the head, Sakura and Sasuke both exclaimed, "Hey!" Kakashi responded, "Speaking of, what about you, Sasuke? What are your plans, and you as well, Sakura?" Sasuke looked at him and replied, "I don't know. I want to kill my brother for what he did to my family and have focused on that for so long that I don't know what to do or think, but since Naruto-kun been gone, I done a lot of thinking, and I was wanting to tell him the truth about me once I found out how to dispel that illusion, but what if he kills him?" With a head scratch, Naruto uttered the words, "Itachi won't kill me." As Kakashi put it, "Oh, and why is that?" After a brief period of searching through his bag, Naruto produced a scroll and said, "Sasuke, can you give me a drop of your blood a minute?" before making his way back. Kakashi squinted and inquired, "Naruto, what's up with the scroll?" "About a week ago, 2 guys showed up while I was training," Naruto stated. "One resembled a human-like fish, while the other resembled an older Sasuke. The kyubi was the reason they were searching for me. I was tied to a cross under a red moon when Itachi gave me this strange Sharingan wheel look." Naruto said, "I used what Connor taught me and freed myself in it," and he was shocked and asked, "How did I do it?" as Sasuke clenched her fist. Connor also made an appearance in the illusion, showing him that the kyubi had been killed and destroyed. Itachi nodded, saying that he had no more reason to capture me, but he asked me to help him. He told me how he was one of the Anbu who had protected me as a child and asked if I would do anything for him in return. When I discovered Sasuke's secret, he instructed me to have Sasuke read this scroll and break the seal. As she looked at Kakashi, who replied, "It's your choice," Sasuke tensed up and wondered, did he know I was a girl, and why would he ask the Dobi of all people to do something? Naruto opened the scroll and read it. After Sasuke scowled for a moment, cut her finger on a kunai, and spilled blood on the seal, causing it to shatter. "Naruto, I am sorry for what I had to do, but if you are reading this, you have probably learned about my sister. I suspect that she still has a crush on you, but I can't be sure. I ask that you watch her for me because there are people who would come after her and use her for their own purposes. I know that coming from me may sound strange, but there is more to what happened that day than even Sasuke knows. If you want to know the truth about what actually happened that day and not what I showed Sasuke, then talk to the woman with the oil birthmark. You remember who that is, Naruto." "Farewell, Itachi." After giving the scroll to the others and taking another look at it, Sakura questioned, "What do you think, Sasuke?" As she read it, Sasuke scowled and remarked, "I don't know, Sakura. How did he know I was a girl? I assumed he killed our clan to test his strength." "Who is Naruto, the woman with the oil birthmark?" After giving it some thought, Naruto remarked, "The only one I can think of would be." His eyes widened briefly before he added, "I see." According to Sasuke, "You see what, Dobi? One day, Itachi, dressed in his Anbu uniform, took me to his girlfriend's house for lunch," Naruto remarked. "We went there while it was being cleaned up because it was my birthday and my apartment had already been broken into and destroyed while I was at the academy. She was going to give him some yeah, she didn't know I was going to be with him because it was supposed to be his day off. She quickly covered herself and went, but as she went to change, I noticed a funny birthmark on her back. It appeared to have been painted with oil." Then Sasuke said, "But who was it?" Naruto replied, "I will take you to meet her when we get back, okay?" With a scowl, Sasuke said, "Fine." So, what are we going to do now? Kakashi inquired Naruto. Are you returning to finish the mission? Yes, but I'm not sure how much of a help I'll be, Naruto said. Although I did learn how to climb trees after I died and lost most of my chakra, I have spent the rest of my time learning illusion and kenjutsu from Connor, but I am still far from his level of skill. I can perform basic ones, like the one that Teme is wearing, and I can summon a sword, but it will only be destroyed after a few strikes. He primarily taught me the fundamentals of making me understand that I must make them seem real, such as how a sword vibrates slightly when it strikes something or how a blunt side doesn't cut but hits, and so on. Kakashi remarked, I see in you Sasuke. Sasuke stated, I want everyone to believe that I am a guy until I discover what Itachi was discussing. I'll proceed from there after that. How about you, Sakura? Inquired Naruto. You've been quiet. At the moment, I'm really confused, Sakura said, biting her lip right now. Everything is too shocking, so I need time to reflect. I retract my statement that I'm angry with either of you at the moment. I'm upset with you, Naruto, for causing us to worry so much about you. I'm relieved that you're back, but I'm not sure how to feel. You love me. Sasuke-kun loves you, and I loved him, so it's all confusing. Kakashi grinned and remarked, not really, you're just a threesome. Sakura, Sasuke, and Naruto all removed Kakashi's clone. A woman passing by to offer water overheard Kakashi's perverted giggle and walked over to slap him after his eyes widened from the memories of what he had learned on the bridge. Sasuke remarked, you know, the pervert was right though, as Naruto returned to the clearing and examined the smoke left behind by the cage. Bunshin, a threesome is what we are. Sakura exclaimed in surprise, Sasuke-kun. Teme, please don't say that again, Naruto said, turning to face Sasuke. I have about 2,000 years of memories running through my head right now, some of which involve sexual encounters. Your statement triggers those memories and gives me ideas for how to simultaneously please you, which is not something we want right now. So you know ways to give women pleasure, huh? Said Sasuke with a sly smile and a seductive voice. Like what? Sasuke-kun, what are you doing? Exclaimed Sakura, who had been beaten red. With half-lidded eyes, Sasuke approached Sakura, placed her hands on her hips, drew her in, and planted a kiss that made Sakura wide-eyed for a moment before she closed her eyes and attempted to return the kiss. When Sasuke broke the kiss, Naruto's eyes became glazed, and he quickly did the same to him. Naruto took control, drawing Sasuke closer to him as he started to rub his hands across her back and down to her ass, pulling them up and causing Sakura to squeak and Sasuke to moan. Sasuke and Naruto walked over to Sakura after Naruto broke the kiss and looked at her. Sakura blushed from the looks. Feeling her body react to them, Sasuke walked behind her, wrapped her arms around Sakura's front, and started rubbing across her stomach before moving to just below her breast. Naruto reached up and lifted Sakura's head, kissing her on the lips as well. Sakura thought, oh my, as she felt herself getting turned on. All three genin were startled by the sound of something crashing to the ground, and when they turned to look, they saw a figure in a blue dress who was unconscious, smiling, and suffering from a severe nosebleed. Well, there's a mood killer, Sakura, Naruto uttered. With her eyes glossed over, Sakura said, yes, Naruto-kun. Looking down, Naruto remarked, your hand is a little grabby. Before she passed out, Sakura glanced down and eeped. Sasuke remarked, wait till she sees it. You hung like a horse, as Naruto laughed. You're the one who tied that on me that day, didn't you? Naruto said, blinking and staring at Sasuke with wide eyes. He then pointed a finger at Sasuke. Yeah, had I known it was really you I might have done more than that, smirked Sasuke. What happened to you, Teme? You usually do this and that, but you're acting strange, Naruto said, shaking his head. Sasuke replied, I'm horny as hell. I've had an itch for 3 years now that I couldn't get to because of that damn illusion, and I couldn't get myself off, and now that I can, well, you get the picture. I'm a Uchiha, and Uchiha women have height sex drives, and CC is that you're so damn sexy now that I just want to jump your damn bones. When Naruto inquired about Sasuke's whereabouts, Sakura, who had just woken up, replied, and you forgot D. Sasuke-kun. Naruto and Sasuke both glanced at her, and Naruto questioned, what's D? Sakura got up to say, one of the classes Sasuke missed for girls was when they talked about chakra effect on the female body. For guys it's nothing to really talk about, but for us women our chakra pattern is different than guys are, and when we use chakra it's like sexual stimulation that only can be released through pure exhaustion. The more chakra you use, then the more stimulated you become. We are given shots once a year to make it where it doesn't get out of control, but since Sasuke-kun never had the shot in as much as she used her chakra. Says Sasuke. So basically I'm a nymph right now. According to Sakura, yeah, basically, I can handle that. Want to help me get exhausted you also, Sakura? Sasuke said. licking her lips as she glanced at Naruto and Sakura. Perhaps Naruto ought to put that thing on you, Sakura said, biting her lip with everything that has been happening. I don't think any of us are prepared for that just yet. Sasuke and Sakura both frowned as Naruto turned to face the person who had fainted and said, "Yeah, maybe you're right because the peeping Tom is gone." Sighing, Sasuke uttered, "Fine Dobi for now." When Naruto closed his eyes, Sasuke was enveloped in gold light and changed back to a man. As he started to walk away, Naruto said, "Well, let's go." The figure from earlier on the Gato yacht would have been steering it away if any of the three had looked. Naruto noticed that Connor's body had turned to dust as the three started to depart. Connor's voice said, "Remember Naruto, we are brothers, connected forever even in death." He scowled and thought, "Goodbye, my friend, I will miss you and I will get to your beloved Scotland in my life for you." He felt a tingle on his hand and noticed it was glowing. Despite Sasuke's newfound masculinity, Naruto turned to face the two girls who were waiting and grinned softly. Sakura asked, "Why did you both do that to me earlier?" As the three members of Team 7 reflected on what had transpired on their way back to the bridge. Sasuke replied, "Like I said, I was curious. By the way, why the hell do you have to make yourself as much as your name same? I mean your cloths, your perfume, your shampoo and now your lip gloss." After a brief moment of attention-grabbing laughter, Sakura questioned, "What are you laughing at, Naruto?" Naruto replied, "Oh, just thinking that if the peeping Tom back there hadn't have arrived when she did, then odds are that Sakura would lose one of her namesakes with as grabby as she got." Sakura turned beet red, and Sasuke blushed a little too. They both slapped him over the head and said, "Pervert." Naruto grinned and turned into gold, surprising the two girls by coming behind them when he had previously been in front of them. Glaring, Sasuke uttered, "That's not fair, Dobi." Naruto replied, "Life's not fair, Teme-chan, but you're right, but I don't feel like being hit when you both were as bad as I am. You trying to seduce me and Sakura playing that little innocent victim act, but she sure as hell was not so innocent there at the end." He was gazing around. Sakura questioned, "What's wrong, Naruto?" After both girls noticed him halt and glance around. When he started to leave, Naruto remarked, "There's a bird nest over there in those thorn bushes. There are two baby birds in the nest and they're hungry. Their mother hasn't returned in a few hours, most likely hiding from us. Come on." Sasuke inquired, "How do you know that, Naruto? How were you and Connor reading my mind?" Naruto looked up and said, "It's not exactly mind reading. Connor said it was a kind of magic. Ramirez, the man who first trained him and who's originally owned this sword, taught Connor, who taught me how to connect with the world around us. It's weird, I can feel both your feelings a little and can pick up on your most emotional thought, like those that concern love, hate, pain, happiness. I could feel what those baby birds were thinking because they were afraid. It's weird, but at the same time it feels like it's something I should have always known and done. I can feel the earth itself, the wind, the trees, even the sun. It's like I am one with the universe." Sakura inquired, "Are all the others like that also, Naruto, the other immortals?" Naruto paused for a moment and replied, "No, the quickening is different for Connor, Ramirez and I. It's why even after he's dead I can still feel Connor and Ramirez. It's like they're standing beside me, supporting me. I feel I don't know what it is. I feel I never felt anything like it before." When Sasuke noticed Naruto's serene expression and relaxed body, he remarked, "You sound happy, Dobi." After a few moments, Naruto closed his eyes and uttered, "Somewhat, and I can't do that for you, Sasuke." Blinking, Sasuke questioned, "Do what, Dobi?" Naruto blinked and said, "Power comes at a price, Sasuke. Even if I never would have met Connor, I was still immortal before, thanks to the kyubi. I learned that when you seal something immortal in a mortal, it makes the mortal immortal. I would have grown older and older as the kyubi would have kept my body alive, even if I was so old that I could not move until someone killed me, and kyubi would have been freed or someone extracted it from me, killing me. That was one of the reason I decided to take Connor up on his offer. I am still immortal now, but I won't grow old and weak. But one thing that is different is I sacrificed the ability to have children. You were thinking a moment ago when you saw me happy how you wanted to have a family with me, to be happy for both of us." And closing her eyes and putting her fingers to her lips, Sasuke said, "I understand. It still doesn't change the fact that I love you. How are you going to handle it, Naruto, watching all of us grow old and die?" And Sakura said, biting her lip. Naruto interrupted her and said, "Same way I lived every day before now, Sakura, day by day. I never really thought about my future much. I know I shouted out about wanting to be Hokage, but I've come to realize that is an empty dream. Since the day I found out about kyubi, I realized the village would never let me be the Hokage for fear that someday kyubi might break free and destroy the village. Part of me thought the same thing after I learned the truth. I don't know how many nights I have awoken from nightmares of the kyubi breaking free and destroying the village or using my body to hurt those I care for. But that doesn't mean I don't still care for it or dream someday it might happen. But if it doesn't, I will still go on until I die. Living every day as best as I can and hope that tomorrow will be better than today. You ask me how will I handle it. Sakura, I used to think that I would always be alone when I was younger, and then the Hokage came to me and offered me a friend. After that I gained another in Itachi and another in Ayame, and now I have someone here who says she loves me even after everything she has learned, and I have someone who cared enough to cry for me when she thought I died. That showed me you care for me some, and that is more than I could ever dream of having before. It means that I am not what everyone always claimed I was when they told me I had no right to live or I should just die, and I know someday I will lose you both, and I am going to enjoy every moment I can with you, but I can dream that someday I will be reunited with you just like Connor is now reunited with his beloved Heather, with a small smile on his face as he looked at the sky. Sakura looked at Naruto with a confused expression and replied, "You, why is it only now that I am seeing this in you, Naruto? I mean, you were in front of me for years, and yet I feel like until right now I have never seen the real you." Sasuke continued, "And now you see one of the reasons I care for him. It's why I am willing to still be with him even after learning I won't ever be able to have his children in the future." With a deadpan expression, Naruto stated, "That is if I return your feelings, Teme." "You will Dobi, you will. Nobody else can get under your skin like I can," smirked Sasuke. Snorting, Naruto started to leave, saying, "Remind me to tell you the story of when I lost my virginity." When they saw him leaving, both girls blinked, and then a few seconds later, they glanced at one another and ran after him, screaming, "WHAT?" Sasuke asked Naruto, "What do you mean you lost your virginity?" after they had caught up to him. In an attempt to find the right words, Sakura said, "Yeah, aren't you still one? I mean, you're the same age as us in. And what, just because we are the same age doesn't mean that we can't be totally different in what we have done or who we are," Naruto said, observing the shocked expressions on both faces. When she finally asked, "When, who, how?" Sasuke's mouth was moving. Smirking, Naruto remarked, "You really want to know?" Naruto glanced at Sakura after Sasuke nodded, and she replied, "Yes." After glancing at both, Naruto uttered the words, "Only if you both swear never to tell anyone what you hear. I don't want to cause any of those three harm." Sakura and Sasuke yelled, "Three?" Nodding, Naruto uttered, "So do you swear if you ever tell anyone I will never forgive you?" Says Sasuke. "I swear." Sakura gives a nod as well. "Well, it started 2 days before my last birthday. You see, every year since I was 5, Ayame, the girl at the ramen stand, would spend the day with me. At first it was with the Hokage, but after a few years it was just the two of us. Ayame would take me in the back and make me a cake for my birthday while her dad handled the front, and she would give me a little gift. My goggles I used to wear were from her, which is why I wore them all the time. Anyways, I was sitting at the ramen stand when 2 ladies walked in and started to talk to Ayame 2 days before my last birthday. I saw how excited she got, and I know I shouldn't have, but I listened in and I heard how both ladies were in the same graduating class from the academy as Ayame." "Wait," said Sasuke, blinking, "she was a ninja?" Naruto said, "Yeah, she made Chunin before her mother passed away 5 years back, and her dad nearly lost his home and business to pay off her medical expenses, cancer. After that, Ayame went on the reserve list and started helping her dad at the stand as more than a part-time helper. She does 6 missions a year to keep her listed as a Chunin. The old man usually has her work at the academy getting ready for the new school year with registering all the new students and a few others that are in town. Anyways, Ayame was excited about seeing her friends and they wanted to have a get-together for old times' sake, and Ayame at first agreed, but the 2 ladies only had the day of the Kyubi festival off, and Ayame knew how important spending that day with me was to me, so she started to decline. I heard this and frowned as both girls said if she changed her mind that they would be at one of the hot springs that day all day relaxing. When Ayame came over, I told her she should have spent time with her friends as they were important to her. She smiled and gave me a little kiss on the forehead and said that I was also important to her and that spending time with someone on their birthday was more important than a day at the hot springs. I went home that night trying to figure something out, and I did." Sakura inquired, "What did you figure out, Naruto, and how did you wind up having sex?" Naruto smiled as he leaned against a tree while still standing up and said, "Well, I spent nearly the entire night and the next day working on something that would make it for Ayame to be with her friends and me so she would be happy. After I was sure my plan would work, I went to where I knew one of Ayame's friends lived, since I actually saw her every day, and I knocked on the door, and when she came to the door, the lady was surprised and curious as to why I would show up at her house. She never treated me unkindly like some had for the kyubi, and I explained the reason why Ayame wasn't able to make it and told her that I had a way to make Ayame happy, and she asked me what it was. I then showed her, and at first she was shocked, and then she laughed, and after she calmed down thinking she hurt my feelings, said that since I was doing it for Ayame she would make sure things were set, and she went to tell the other lady. The next day when I walked to the ramen stand to meet Ayame for my birthday lunch, both her friends arrived and shushined all four of us to the front of the hot springs. Ayame was at first shocked having been kidnapped like that until I showed her what I had come up with, and when she saw it she started to laugh until she cried, and all four of us went inside the hot springs. Sasuke replied, "But you're a guy and you couldn't change like I do then." According to Naruto, sexy no jutsu. Sakura looked at that jutsu again and thought, "Wait, you mean you invented that perverted jutsu so you could go into the hot springs with those three ladies?" She blinked. Naruto replied, "Yeah, the one I talked to the day before had stole Ayame bathing suit, so all three had them so that it would not be as bad as it would be if they were nude, and they had reserved the building for the day so no one else was there besides us. They even got one a female bathing suit for me. They said if I was going to act like a girl I had to dress like one, an itsy bitsy teeny weeny yellow polka dot bikini. I was so embarrassed because all three started to drink and giggle and sang that stupid song, but I also had fun, and they even let me have a little sake also, causing them to reflect on and chuckled." "So how did you get laid then?" Sasuke asked after he had finally calmed down. "I mean, it all sounds pretty harmless so far." It was Sakura who said, "Tactful Sasuke-chan. Hey, I've been having to act like a guy my entire life. Being blunt is something guys do," said Sasuke with a shrug. Naruto said, "Well, turns out Ayame and one of the other ladies don't hold alcohol very well and got very drunk, and the other lady, she drank like 7 or 8 bottles. And I had a whole bottle myself since I was having so much fun, and I learned a lot of respect for women hearing some of the stories they had, but I eventually lost focus on the jutsu and turned back into a guy, and so my top came off and the bottom didn't really cover much, and they all looked at me and one thought I was the Yondaime, and now I know why I looked so much like him, and she had a crush on him when she was younger, and so she started to kiss me. Ayame, seeing her friend kiss me, got upset, still realizing who I was, and I was so drunk when Ayame shoved her friend away from me I sort of pulled her close and kissed her instead, since I thought it was a new game or something. Her friend saw this and still thought I was dad and came over and tried to get in on the action, and the last lady, who had drunk more than all of us put together, was still sober enough to realize what was going on, but she wanted in on the fun and commented about how she always wanted to know what it was like to screw a demon, and things went from there. I don't know if Ayame remembers what happened because of the sake, and she never mentioned it, and her friend, when I saw her again, never acted any different, and I never seen the other lady again, so it was one of those things that happen and everyone tries to forget. Of course, you never really forget your first," with a small smile. "Well, who were the other 2 ladies?" inquired Sasuke. Grasping the back of his head, Naruto uttered the words, "You're not going to tell anyone, right?" The 2 girls nod, and Naruto mumbles the final line, "I don't know who won as I only saw her those 2 times, but she dresses in a long trench coat and wears fishnet for a shirt, and the other is him." With a blink, Sakura questioned, "Who was the last person Naruto saw?" With a sigh, Naruto uttered, Team 8 sensei." When a thud was heard, both girls' eyes widened. The 3 of them turned to see Kakashi twitching on the ground across the clearing from them. Naruto slapped his head and uttered the words, "Damn it, why does he always have to show up?" After Kakashi stood up and raised his headband to gaze at Naruto with his Sharingan, the latter became restless and questioned, "What are you doing, Kakashi-sensei?" Kakashi replied, "Remembering a legend, you slept with the 2 sexiest women in Konoha, Enko Midarashi, the Snake Mistress, and Kurenai Yuihi, the Ice Queen of Konoha. You are a god amongst men." As a form of blackmail, Naruto used Kakashi's feelings to say, "And if you tell a soul, I will have pictures of you without your mask on every window of Konoha." Kakashi laughed and replied, "And where do you plan to get your picture? There is no such picture of me without it on, and you will never be able to get it yourself." Kakashi was frozen in place when Naruto smirked and said, "Hana Inuzuka." "How?" Kakashi asked, his face displaying shock. Naruto stated, "Just because I may have had sex with 3 women at one time didn't mean that was the only time I had sex. She has a picture of you on her nightstand without your mask." Sakura looked at Naruto in shock and said, "But how do you know that, Naruto?" Sasuke had a slight frown on his face. Naruto did not see Sasuke's reaction and said, "Kiba pissed me off having Akamaru jump out of a tree and piss on me for something called dynamic marking, so to get back at them both I hanged into Kiba. I pulled a prank on him and the rest of their dog kennel by putting itching powder in the flea powder boxes." Hana found out and found my scent in the kennels and made me agree to be her servant for a week, or she would lock me in a cage with all the dogs who had the itching powder on them and let them attack me for revenge. I found out because of kyubi I used to release a scent to attract females with heightened senses according to Hana, and while I was cleaning the kennels her family bloodline makes them have animals tendency, and she sort of went into heat as she called it later, and I wound up tied to her bed with a dog leash around my neck for the rest of the week. With a shrug. Clutching her fist, Sasuke questioned, "Are there any other woman you been with, Dobi?" "This is all going to stay between us, right?" Naruto said, blinking. When Naruto noticed that Kakashi was still observing him with the Sharingan, he said, You both remember the day we graduated, right?" All three nod. When they both nod, Naruto remarked, "Well, you remember how I attacked you, Sasuke, and tied you up?" Sasuke replied, "How can I ever forget? I was trying to figure out if I should tell you about me when you jumped through the window and attacked me. By the way, why did you hinge into me?" Sakura said, You were the one who tried to kiss me that day, weren't you?" As her eyes widened and she turned to face Naruto. Naruto looked up and replied, "Yeah, but something I ate didn't agree with me, and when I ran away to use the restroom I was still hanged into Teme, and when I began to pull up my pants the lights were turned off suddenly and the bathroom's door was broke open and Well, Amy and Ino sort of tag-teamed me thinking I was Teme in the dark. I know it was them because I recognized their voices, they said after they knocked me to the ground and handcuffed my hands around the sink drain pipe, that since Forehead was on the team with me that they wanted to show what I was missing." As she planned her retaliation, Sasuke's eyes widened and he said, "So Ino and Amy raped you?" Naruto replied, "Well, I wouldn't say it was rape or me, they thought they were raping you, and as for me I needed something to relieve the stress I felt after Mizuki tried to kill me and learning about the kyubi the night before, so I didn't mind." According to Sakura, "You a slut?" Naruto replied, "No. I just chose not to be too picky. As you both know, when a woman makes up her mind about something it is nearly impossible to change, and since I never actually started any of the encounters I had and nobody got hurt, and I figured if it was the only way any woman would ever think of me as anything besides an idiot or kyubi, then what the hell? Besides, we're ninja and who knows how long it is before we die on a mission again. Do you really want to die a virgin?" Causing both girls to reflect on what he said. All three teenagers turned to face Kakashi when he said, "No, you're both mistaken. You're a submissive, Naruto." With a blink, Naruto said, "Huh?" Kakashi stated, "In sexual relationships there are two types of lovers. Submissive and dominates, one who always decides when to advance it to something else or continue it. In your story you told how the three at the hot springs had their way with you. With Hana you told how she tied you up and had her way with you, and you told how Ino and Amy attacked you and had their way with you. In each case you submitted yourself to them and let them take charge. If you think about why you like Sakura for so many years as another example, Sakura is definitely a dominate type of person with her attitude, body language, and the way she treats you, and you never get mad at her. Same thing with Sasuke here. Sasuke, like most Uchiha, likes any form of power they can get, in this case the power of a dominate over a submissive." Sasuke looked at Naruto. "I guess that might make sense. I mean, I did start the kiss with both you, and then the Dobi began to follow my lead when we tag team Sakura, but why did she submit then if she's a dominate like me?" All three of them gaped at Kakashi when he said, "Simple, the Haruno bloodline." Sakura then added, "I have a bloodline." Kakashi replied, "Yeah, it's not very well known since there have never been any ninja in your family history, and I wouldn't have known until I talked to your mother the day I first met you when I asked to see your home like your teammates so I could figure out what type of team you would be, but the Haruno have what is called an inner personality. It makes it where you have photographic memory because the things you normally forget your other personality will remember. It also has other effects, but your mother only told me that, so I don't know it all, but I can guess that the reason you submitted from what I can tell is that one of your personalities is a dominate while another is a submissive." Sakura looked perplexed as she sighed and remarked, "So I'm not crazy hearing that voice in my head. I thought I had MPD since it was the only thing I could come close to figuring out about it, but why didn't mom ever tell me?" When Sasuke noticed that Naruto was staring at Sakura, he bit her lip for a brief moment. Sakura then sprang forward, seized Naruto by the hair, pulled him into a passionate kiss, and inserted her tongue into his mouth. Naruto briefly resisted, but he eventually pulled his tongue back, and Sasuke probed his mouth. "It's true, Dobi, you're a submissive. I challenged you to a fight with our tongues and you gave up," Sasuke said as Kakashi burst out laughing as the kiss ended. As Kakashi put it, "Only for now, Sasuke." With a blink, Sasuke questioned, "What do you mean only for now?" Kakashi looked at Naruto as well as the two girls and, "You're so much like my old team that it's scary. I feel like your father was when I was in your place. Now Naruto, I was the prodigy like Sasuke. My teammate Rin was like Sakura and a fangirl for me, and our third teammate Obito was the one everyone underestimated and treated as the idiot who would go out of his way to get the attention of the girl he loved, Rin. Kakashi's melancholy voice made it clear to all three students that this was a sensitive topic. The silence was broken by Sakura, who inquired, "What happened to your teammates, Kakashi-sensei?" Kakashi closed his eye and covered up his Sharingan and said, "Emission. We were tasked with destroying a bridge that Iwa was using as a supply line for their main force. Minato-sensei led us halfway and he went to attack the main force while we went to complete our mission, so the main force would be cut off from reinforcements. Back then I was a different person than I am now. I believed that the rules were everything and anyone who doesn't follow the rules were trash. No matter what, our teammate Rin was captured by Iwa Nins and I was going to follow the rules and leave her to die to complete the mission. Obito attacked me and told me that those who abandon their comrades are worse than trash. He left to go rescue Rin and I eventually broke and followed, but I got there in time to save Obito from dying from an Iwa Nin that came up behind him and I lost my eye. We went and rescued Rin, but the Iwa Nins used an earth jutsu to try and kill all three of us. I had Rin in my arms since she was hurt and Obito shoved me out of the way and saved my life from the attack and was crushed underneath the stone. Obito's last request was for Rin, who was a medic, to transplant his newly awakened Sharingan into me. That day changed me and I went from who I was then to who I am now, just like Naruto, who has changed." While staring at Naruto, he continued, "You started to change long before you got your new body, though, Naruto, so don't think that is what I am talking about. You started to change the moment you were wounded from the Oni brothers' poisoned blade. You went from worrying about yourself to worrying about others for no reason at all. You went from wanting to be a ninja for selfish reason of getting people to see you as something besides the kyubi to wanting to be a ninja to protect people. That was why you lost your cool to Inari, and I see the changes continue even now in you as the burden of the kyubi has been lifted from your shoulders. As time comes and you discovers who he really are, you are going to become someone to watch and count on." He was proud of Naruto. He continued, "Same for both of you, Sasuke. Now that your secrets are out, even when you try to be a guy, still you are becoming more and more female and accepting the changes of who you really are. When I was first assigned as your sensei, I was told to try and keep a close eye on you more than the others because you were considered a flight risk because of your need to avenge your family. During the time Naruto was missing, I watched as you worried for him and how you would sneak into the woods to try and find him. I didn't know why then. I had suspected it was that even if you never admitted it, you respected Naruto as a teammate and a friend. I see now that it was even more than that, and I can see that this experience has had a positive influence on you, changing you into someone I can feel proud to be my student and someone I think both Sakura and Naruto would be proud to call a teammate and friend, something that none of you three were truly before now." As he saw Sasuke get a small smile on her lips even though she appeared to be a guy. "Don't look down, Sakura, you have shown the most change of all," Kakashi said, glancing at Sakura as she looked down. "What do you mean, Kakashi-sensei? I haven't changed at all," Sakura asked, blinking as she noticed Sasuke and Naruto staring at her. Kakashi smiled and said, "Yes, you have. You went from being a fangirl who only cared about her looks and a guy to someone who actually cares for her teammates and who wants to become strong so you can protect them as well as support them. During the time Naruto was missing, you took your training serious. You came to me asking for ways to help. You have changed from someone who sits back looking at your teammates get further and further ahead of you to someone who wants to stand beside them." Sasuke knew about the kyubi in Naruto, so she had years to accept it. "You just learned about it and yet you have not shown any true fear toward Naruto. You were scared for a moment as you tried to figure things out, but that moment quickly passed. Naruto can't fault you for it since he admits himself it scared him, and yet you still stand beside him and you are actually seeing the person behind the emotional mask he used to wear for the first time since you three were assigned to me. I am actually proud to call you my students and I want to say I am sorry," making all three confused. "What are you saying sorry for, Kakashi-sensei?" inquired Naruto. Kakashi took a deep breath and said, "I guess I should start off telling you that when I sent the Kage Bunshin to follow Sasuke and Sakura, I sent a second one to follow in case the first was destroyed. I am that Kage Bunshin, but you can ask Naruto. I am just as much as the real Kakashi as he is, and so everything I am saying is what he would be saying, and when I dispel he will know everything as well. Now, as I was going to say, the reason I am sorry is because I realize that as a sensei I have been failing all three of you. The tree climbing exercise I taught you three should have been taught to you within the first week as a team, but I didn't teach you it then because I honestly did not consider you three a team at that point. I figured you were three people who were working toward the same goal individually. Every mission we took before this one was the same thing. I honestly have been expecting Sakura to quit being a ninja Sasuke to seek out others to gain more power for her revenge, and Naruto. You by far are the one I feel I shorted the most. Like Itachi, I was one of your guards when you were younger. I seen how you built the mask, and over time I admit that I forgot who you were before the mask. I knew both your parents, and though you may have your father's looks, or had I should say your personality is all your mother's, now that you have finally freed yourself of that emotional mask, I can actually see you for who you were, and I realize that you have every right to be called a prodigy as either Sasuke or Sakura. Naruto inquired. What do you mean? Kakashi said. Where Sasuke had her natural talent and Sakura had her book smarts, you have something that neither of them has. It took Connor pointing it out to me and Sasuke mentioning it, but you have a natural talent as well, and that is your resolve. Sasuke talent allows her to pick things up quickly, but once she picks them up her talent ends. Sakura can remember word for word what is written in a book and use it to aid her, but she doesn't have the inspiration to carry it to the next level yet. But you may not get it on the first or second try, but you keep pushing on well past the point Sasuke would quit trying to get it and move on to something else. If you can't figure it out the way it is explained to you, then you keep going until you find a way to do it. You resolve to never give up no matter what is a talent itself, and is one that I have ignored. You three are the perfect team. Each of you have your strength and weakness, but together you three will become legendary, and the reason I am sorry is I have missed that all this time, and for that I wish to make it up to all three of you. I will become the sensei I should have always been and help all three of you reach your goals. After the three of them exchanged glances, Naruto grinned and asked, so what's first, Kakashi-sensei? Kakashi continued. Now you three get back to the client's house. Dinner is ready. I have already explained to Tazuna and his family that because of getting injured by Gato men that you awoke an unknown bloodline to explain your changes, so that is your story. Tomorrow I will teach all three of you water walking, and once you have got that down I will begin teaching you some offensive and defensive jutsu. Let's go. As he started to leave. When Naruto noticed the other two starting to follow Kakashi, he smiled slightly and thought, I made the right choice. He then started to follow the others. Upon returning to Tazuna's house with the girls, Naruto noticed Tazuna, Inari, and Tsunami. The Kakashi they had been following went up in smoke, and Kakashi, who was reading his book on the couch, stopped as his eyes widened and he turned to face Naruto. You are my hero, so how was team bonding? He asked. After Sasuke gave him a slug, Kakashi grinned and said, well, I'm happy to hear that you're okay. Naruto, I'll follow through on my promise to train you three starting tomorrow. Why don't you grab a bite to eat first? With a sigh of relief, Tazuna remarked, so you come back finally, Gaki, to do your job. You look totally different. Naruto grinned and remarked, and you still look like a drunk. Well, I'm glad to see you again, and I must say that you look even more handsome than you used to, but I have to ask why you're wearing a skirt, Tsunami said as she observed Naruto and his new appearance. Naruto sighed and replied, it's not a skirt, it's a kilt, and the one who helped me after I got captured by Gato men family all wore these as their clan design. I actually like them now a little since they remind me of him, but I need to get me some new cloths since my bloodline changed me so much I don't have anything else to wear. Sakura remarked, we will have to find you something when we return to Konoha, while Sasuke scowled as she glanced at Tsunami. After giving Naruto a serious look, Tsunami remarked, I think I might have some old cloths that might fit you down in the basement. But Mom, Inari said as her and Tazuna's eyes widened. As she walked down the hall and opened a closet that led down into the basement, Tsunami put her hand on her son's shoulder and said, I know, Inari, but it will be okay if you want to try them out. Naruto, follow me. When Naruto noticed Sasuke anxious, he turned to face his team and asked, what's wrong, Teme? She went over, sat down, and started eating. After Sasuke shook her head and said, nothing, go get some decent cloths, Dobi. Sakura followed suit, and as Naruto made his way to the closet and descended into the basement, he thought, I wonder what's wrong. I know something is, but I don't know what. Upon arriving, he observed Tsunami rearranging a few baskets. She approached an antique chest and revealed, without turning to face Naruto, that these cloths used to belong to Kaiza. Who? Asked Naruto. Tsunami glanced down and replied, I guess you were gone when we told everyone about him. He was a fisherman that came to Wave before Gato came. He became the hero of this country and he became like a father to Inari. Then Gato came and killed him in front of the entire village to show what would happen to anyone who opposes him. When she started crying, she cries into Naruto's chest as he swiftly approaches and puts his arms around her after hearing her anguish and tears. He was holding her and she said, when you disappeared it was just like him all over again. I thought that another hero was dead thanks to Gato. With a sorrowful smile, Naruto said in a gentle and kind voice, I told you all already, I'm immortal. Tsunami, Gato can't kill me. Tsunami became more agitated as she sobbed more and said, don't say that you're only human, anyone can die, don't say stupid things like that. Naruto sighed and said, don't give up hope, Tsunami, never give up. There are still heroes in the world who can stop monsters like Gato, and Gato will be stopped. I will stop him for you. Taking a step back, Tsunami felt her cheeks warm up as she gazed into Naruto's eyes and questioned, "But why?" Naruto replied, "Because someone stopped the monster that was bringing me pain. I will do the same for you. I can't ask you to do that. I don't want to see anyone else die. I can't take the pain of losing anyone else," Tsunami said, closing her eyes and shaking her head. With a gentle smile, Naruto said, "Believe Tsunami, believe one more time in me, and I promise you that Gato won't bring you any more pain. I promise, and I never break my promise. That's my ninja way." Naruto put his hand under her chin, causing her to open her eyes and look at him. Looking into Naruto's green and blue eyes, Tsunami bit her lip and said, "I'll believe." She then leaned forward and gave him a kiss on the lips, causing Naruto's eyes to widen for a moment. "Well, you're not as clueless as I thought, Dobi. You saw her pain as I did. I'll help you keep that promise, Naruto-kun. Damn, that's hot." Sasuke closed her eyes on the stairs and grinned slightly before turning to return silently up the stairs. "Not now, kid. The Dobi's trying on some cloths and your mom's fixing some moth holes," she said, closing the closet door as she saw Inari making her way to it from the top of the stairs. As he attempted to pass her, Inari remarked, "Get out of my way. This is my house and those are Kaiza cloths. I won't have him take those cloths." Sasuke grabbed Inari by the belt and took him on the ground. "Listen here, idiot. I nearly lost my teammate because you wanted to play the drama queen. I am not letting you play the victim card again and piss him off now. Either you go back and eat or got to bed, or I will give you a bath myself by drowning your ass out on that pier outside. Your choice." Screaming, Inari said, let me go," when she sliced him in the neck and knocked him unconscious. Sasuke had had enough and uttered the words, "Night night." "Is everything okay?" Kakashi asked as he glanced down the hallway. As her cheeks began to flush, Sasuke took Inari in her arms and remarked, "Yeah, the Dobi's trying to get into some pants. I think it's going to be a tight fit for him to get into though." When Kakashi noticed that Sasuke's cheeks were flushed, he turned to face the closet door and remarked, "Well, I wonder if I should help him. I know a thing or two about getting pants to fit." Sasuke replied quickly, "No, that's alright, Kakashi-sensei. I am sure the Dobi can manage on his own." With a perverted giggle, Kakashi said, "I see, alright Sasuke-chan, I'm sure you can always help him if he needs practice getting into pants." Sasuke responded, "Pervert," and struck him over the head while carrying Inari upstairs. Sakura questioned, "What's keeping all of them so long?" as Kakashi sat down. After giving her a quick glance and grinning behind his mask, Kakashi remarked, "I believe Tsunami is assisting Naruto in putting on some pants, similar to what those 3 women did on his birthday." Sakura said, "Shut up, pervert. It don't matter if it takes all night to get the Dobi fitting done. As long as Tsunami is willing to help size them for him, it shouldn't matter." Sakura's eyes flashed wide, a tiny bit of blood trickled from her nose, and Kakashi was struck in the head once more by Sasuke, who had just returned. Both girls' eyes widened and Kakashi started to laugh when Tazuna, who was drinking sake, remarked, Never knew Tsunami like them young. She hasn't been with anyone in over a year." "You knew what we were talking about," Sakura remarked. Tazuna responded, "Of course I knew. This is a fishing country. Coming up with new ways to talk about sex is one of the hobbies we do here for fun. What do you think the old saying about cursing like a sailor means? It's Tsunami decision, and if the kid can help her get rid of some of the pain she has, then I say let them go. Though I don't see why Sasuke here not upset. I mean, the way he's been acting since Naruto been gone made me think they were gay lovers." As Tazuna huffed, Sasuke glared at her and said, "I am not gay," in an irate tone while inadvertently releasing some ki. At that moment, Sasuke and Sakura were blown backwards with nosebleeds and passed out when they heard the shout, "Oh Kami-e." Tazuna replied, He must not have come out of the closet yet." With a perverted giggle, Kakashi returned to his book and said, "I think you're right, and I don't think Naruto or Tsunami will be coming out of the closet either for a while." Sakura asked, "Where do you think everyone went?" After Sasuke and Sakura had cleaned the blood from their faces and gotten back up, both of them were flushed because they had noticed that Tazuna and Kakashi had gone. With her cheeks turning slightly red, Sasuke closed her eyes and uttered, "Tazuna and Inari are upstairs. Kakashi-sensei is up on the roof and Naruto and Tsunami are still downstairs." Sakura puckered up and asked, "Why are you not upset that he is with her right now? I mean, you confessed your heart to him today and he hasn't said or done anything about it, but he's sleeping with her." "You really don't know him that well, do you?" smirked Sasuke. Sakura inquired, "What do you mean?" Sasuke began to speak, "Naruto is not like most people. In fact, I don't think there is anyone else in the world quite like him. When I would see him around town, he would smile and try to act happy, but there was another side of him that I've seen from him, especially when he's around his little fan club." With a blink, Sakura inquired, "He has a fan club?" Sasuke laughed and continued, "They're called the Konohamaru Corps. It's the Sandame's grandson and his two friends. They call him boss, and Konohamaru calls Naruto boss and his rival for the position of Hokage. I was turning in my ninja registration the same time he was, and Konohamaru went into the Hokage office and tried to attack his grandfather with a wooden kunai. He then blamed Naruto for it. That kid was spoiled. People are always treating me nice because of who my family was, and I am the last Uchiha in Konoha trying to get on my good side, but for him it was even worse. They suck up to him because he's the Hokage grandson and they think they can get on the Hokage good side by doing that, but they don't really see him. Naruto could tell right away that day about Konohamaru, and he literally knocked some sense into that boy's head before he treated him as a person instead of the Hokage grandson. He even knocked out a Junin to do it. When they turned to see Naruto wearing brown pants, a gray shirt, and a white belt, a startled voice asked, "But how do you know all that, Sasuke?" Sasuke laughed and replied, "Because I followed you to see what happened that day, to find out how you had a hit when I know you had failed the exam." When he sat down, Naruto scowled and remarked, "Yeah, Konohamaru just needed someone who saw him as him, and since then he's become a better person, but why are you talking about that anyways?" Naruto's eyes widened as Sasuke explained, "Because Sakura wanted to know why I wasn't mad that you were sleeping with Tsunami." "I see, so what's the answer?" he asked. "Where's Tsunami at Naruto?" Sakura inquired. "She's sleeping peacefully at the moment on a guest futon they had down there, so what's your answer?" Naruto said, looking at Sasuke, while extending his shoulders. "Simple, Dobi," said Sasuke. "You seem to always know exactly what to do when someone is experiencing emotional pain because of your gift, Dobi. You treated me as your equal and turned into my rival for Tsunami. You were restoring her courage that had been taken away when her husband was killed, as well as what she had lost when you vanished for Konohamaru. You treated him like a person and put him on the path to be seen as him rather than the honorable grandson. I will make you my Dobi, and you won't be sleeping with anyone else after I do. But I can't hate you for being who you are and helping others." "You still think I am going to choose you, huh?" said Naruto with a sly smile. "Oh, I don't think, Dobi, I know," smirked Sasuke. "Since Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze is his nindo, he never breaks his word, so I'll make you swear to be mine." With a slight grin, Naruto remarked, "I think I liked Teme better when she was a Toha." Sasuke said, "Just because I am not mad doesn't mean I wasn't jealous." After slamming her fist into Naruto's face and sending him skidding across the floor, knocked out, Sakura said, "Come on, let's go to bed," as she rose and headed for the stairs. "What about Naruto?" Sakura asked, rising to her feet. "He will be fine until morning," Sasuke said, to avoid having to train him later. "Teach him to sleep on the couch now." "But what room are you sleeping in, Sasuke?" Sakura inquired. As she ascended the stairs, Sasuke scowled and remarked, "Right now I am a guy, Sakura, so figure it out." As she ascended the stairs, Sakura noticed Naruto's sleeping form and remarked, "He is a little cute like that." Naruto turned into gold after they left, and Kakashi's voice remarked, "You're getting better at that." "Thanks, but it requires a lot of focus right now," said Naruto, who had appeared sitting on the couch. "How long did you stay there?" "Long enough, but get some rest, Sasuke," Kakashi said. "You will require it." Naruto lay down and fell asleep, saying, "Hi, Kakashi-sensei." When everyone woke up the following morning, they noticed that Tsunami had changed. She was humming to herself and grinning, and there was a glow about her that made some people take notice. Inari responded, "What are you so happy about this morning, Mom?" While chopping vegetables, Tsunami remarked, "Oh, it feels like the world has been lifted off my shoulders. I feel like I'm alive again." Sasuke bit her lip and questioned, "Is that so?" Inari appeared perplexed, and Tazuna gave Naruto a grateful glance. "I'm glad for you, but I'm curious if you'll feel this way every day or just today." With a smile, Tsunami turned to face Sasuke and remarked, "Well, I suppose that having the world taken off your shoulders would only happen once in some ways. Women are like flowers, sometimes all we need is a little sunshine to grow. However, I'm far too old to have it done more than that. Do you not agree?" When Sasuke's eyes widened, he asked, "What do you mean?" and wondered if she knew. According to Tsunami, flowers will continue to grow at night when the sun sets, but occasionally a flower requires more sunlight than others in order to flourish and display their full beauty. Looking at Sasuke, the sun is aware of this and will always be there for the flower, even if it hides beneath the ground. "Do you need a hand in the kitchen, Tsunami?" inquired Sasuke. Tsunami responded, "Sure, Sasuke, you want to come as well, Sakura, and help me?" Sakura, who was also wide-eyed, replied, "Sure, we are after all guest." Sasuke shut the door behind them as they entered the kitchen and uttered the terrified question, "How?" "A woman who has lost her son can tell when another woman's son is missing," Tsunami said. Turning around, I admit that you initially tricked me, but I could tell by the way you behaved when Naruto was absent that something was there, even though I couldn't see it now that he's back. You can't help but smile, Sasuke-chan. You have your son back, you should tell your son before he sets, but don't worry, I'll keep your secret. I already did, but he's, sighed Sasuke. Teenagers, Tsunami said with a laugh. Words are incomprehensible to men, they comprehend behavior. Keep it from him, show him. Many years ago, my best friend gave me the best advice, which I will now share with you both. When she said, show the boys some of this, she grabbed her breasts and jiggled them. Shush girl, shut your lips, show the boys some of this, and talk with your hips. With a laugh, Tsunami said, now both of you repeat that. Sakura and Sasuke blushed. After playing with her breast, Sakura began to speak, but Tsunami put her fingers to her lips and said, shush girl, shut your lips, show the boys some of this, and talk with your hips. Sakura then began to shake her hips from side to side as Sasuke looked at her. Both girls blinked, and as Sakura opened her mouth to speak, Sasuke said, shush girl, shut your lips, show the boys some of this, and talk with your hips. Tsunami then said, again at the end. Sakura joined in, and Tsunami grinned and said, again. All three women said it with smiles on their faces, and when they reached the end, they all shook their hips and burst out laughing. Shush. She and Sasuke said a little louder. After hearing the laughter, Inari entered and inquired, is everything okay in her mom? Tsunami said, yes, son. After wiping her eyes, return inside while we prepare everything for breakfast. As he walked away, Inari thought, strange. All three of them started laughing, and Sasuke remarked, I can't believe we did that. I know, Sakura said. What do you think Naruto would have said or done if he had seen us? That might not be that bad of an idea, but later, Sasuke said, placing a finger to her chin. After calming down, Tsunami sighed and remarked, that was enjoyable. I've always wished I could tell someone else those words. The saying was accurate, but my friend who coined it perished in a storm that summer. By the way, that's how I got Kaisa's attention. I apologize for last night. She looked down and said, I saw you on the stairs when you left, but that's one of the reasons I love him, said Sasuke with a smile. He is unique, like the sun, and I wouldn't change a thing about him. How was he? Let us put it this way, Tsunami said with a laugh that was definitely not his first time. If I were a few years younger or he was older, I would try to make him mine, but it was enjoyable. He made my toes curl, and I couldn't even remember how many times I climaxed. Enough talking about that, said Sasuke, shaking her head. We have a lot of work to do today, so we need to prepare breakfast, she said, grabbing a knife and starting to chop some vegetables. When Naruto returned to the dining room, Inari asked him, what is he doing? As he sat on the floor with his eyes closed. Glancing up from his book, Kakashi uttered the words, meditating. Naruto opened his eyes and said, training, according to Kakashi, huh? Naruto stated, Connor demonstrated to me that I can create illusions in my mind just as easily as I can in the real world, and that time passes more slowly there, allowing me to train for roughly an hour in 10 minutes. I continued to practice my delusions. According to Kakashi, really what on, after drawing a kunai from his weapon pouch, Naruto extended his other hand and focused for a brief moment, coating his empty hand in gold. Tazuna and Inari were startled when another kunai materialized. Naruto stated, since Connor used Kage Bunshin as a model, I've mastered the art of creating duplicates of myself. This is why they appear so real when I perform them, because I am essentially creating Kage Bunshin without the feedback or the chakra drain, but I am only able to create one at a time at this time. I am working on creating weapons and objects for the time being, but even though I am aware of how things appear and behave, I'm finding it difficult to create them because I have never used them. As he threw it lightly toward Kakashi, who caught it, he said, kunais and shurikens are easier, but I don't know how well they hold up. Naruto then threw the other one, which Kakashi also caught, and he looked at both of them with and without his Sharingan, asking, what kind of drain does this put on you? After giving it some thought, Naruto remarked, just like Kage Bunshin, the real drain is in the process of creating them. Nothing happened after they were made. My mind feels exhausted, but I don't feel physically exhausted. It's not surprising, Kakashi said. I believe illusions will require a great deal of mental control, just like Genjutsu does. I think it should be simpler if you develop your own mental energy through practice, meditation, and knowledge. He held up the fake, saying, by the way, I see a flaw in this one. As Naruto put it, really, what? As he displayed two shadows on the ground in front of Hima, one of a hand holding a kunai and the other of a hand that appeared to be holding something but was actually holding nothing. A Kakashi grinned and remarked, illusions don't cast shadows. Naruto was wondering, do you think I should try and add that I don't really know how to? Kakashi nodded his head and said, I think what you're doing so far is probably the best, but I do warn you not to become dependent on your illusions. You need to improve your other skills as well. Naruto replied, I know. I think I am only going to work an hour or two a day on illusions and spend the rest of the time working on my other areas. I need my kenjutsu skills the most, I think. Kakashi nodded his head and replied, no, stamina, speed, chakra control, then taijutsu and then kenjutsu. If you run out of energy then you will be dead, so that is why stamina is first. You always had a lot of stamina, but now I don't know, so we need to test that and see if it needs more improving. After that, speed is important, so that way you can get in and out of attacks quicker. Chakra control, so that way you can have more and use it better, so you can use chakra to add to your speed and stamina. Taijutsu before kenjutsu, because you may not always have a sword handy, so you need to know how to fight without it just as good as with it. After biting his lip in contemplation, Naruto nodded and remarked, I see, yeah, that sounds good. When he saw Tsunami and the girls carrying some food, Kakashi said, well, let's eat. He stood up, and Naruto followed suit, joining Tazuna and Inari at the table. After they finished their meal, Kakashi replied, alright, I am going to stay up here on the bridge and watch the client. You three will go to the shallows near the beginning of the bridge and try to walk on top of the water using chakra too much and you will blow off not enough and you sink. I want you three to keep doing this until you can do it for 4 hours straight without stopping. That will put all 3 of your chakra reserves around low chunin level. Can I use Kage Bunshin to help me? Inquired Naruto. Kakashi paused for a moment and responded, only 2. Naruto, no more than that. After all 3 of you can do it for 4 hours, I will have Naruto teach both of you Kage Bunshin as well, and that way we can triple our training. Do you 3 have any questions? After glancing at the girls, Naruto questioned, Sasuke, do you want to be a boy or a girl? Sasuke replied, girl. Tsunami helped me realize something earlier. I need to quit hiding and grow up. Are you sure? Inquired Kakashi after a pause. Sasuke replied, yeah. When Sasuke revealed her female side and was covered in gold, Naruto closed his eyes and focused. He staggered a little, and Sakura grabbed him to help steady him. Kakashi then asked, are you alright, Naruto? With a head rub, Naruto remarked, yeah, I went lightheaded for a moment. I'm better now. Are you still feeling tired mentally? Kakashi inquired. After giving it some thought, Naruto remarked, actually no, I feel refreshed. With his eyes narrowed, Kakashi questioned, do you still have that kunai at the house? Yeah, Naruto replied when Kakashi said, release it. After biting his lip, Naruto uttered the words, strange, I feel fully awake now. According to Kakashi, I see, so that's how it is. Sasuke inquired, how? What is Kakashi-sensei? What was wrong with the dobi? Kakashi looked up and said, oh, sorry about that. Naruto was powering your illusion with his mind. Any illusion he creates will take a small part of his mental concentration to keep it active. He just never noticed before that it was making him weaker to do it. For now, Naruto, I want you to always cancel those illusions when you're not using them yourself. Sasuke, I hope you're ready to be a girl full time, because I don't think it's healthy for Naruto to keep it up for you. I don't know why it was still working all these years after your mother died. I understand, and I am, said Sasuke after giving it some thought. Naruto said, unless it wasn't her mother that was actually powering it. This caused the 3 of them to turn to face him. Sakura exclaimed, Itachi? It would make sense. He knew about you being really a girl. He could have been powering it himself for you all these years. Naruto remarked as Kakashi scowled. We need to see that lady when we get back. I need to know the truth, said Sasuke with a frown. With the girls following him, Naruto nodded and started running toward the end of the bridge, saying, alright, well, I think we should get started training. Come on. As they were leaving, Kakashi pulled out his book and started reading while observing the client, thinking, what are you hoping to do, Itachi? As he observed his team training in the shallows, Kakashi glanced at his watch and thought, Sasuke is keeping pace with Naruto. Odd. Those 2 are so different yet so alike, it's almost like them. Naruto completed the exercise in 10 minutes, but she ran out of chakra almost 3 minutes later. It should have taken him at least another hour or 2, I was guessing, and he hasn't dispelled his Kage Bunshin yet either. When they arrived at the end of the bridge that afternoon, after the day of bridge construction was over, Kakashi was walking next to Tazuna and remarked, okay, you 3, come on up, it's time to go back. When Tazuna saw Naruto assisting Sakura and Sasuke in standing up, he blinked and asked, who's the girl? Sasuke said, told you I wasn't gay, with a snort. Glancing at Kakashi, Tazuna inquired, what's going on? Kakashi stated, Sasuke is actually a girl. She didn't want to be treated as weaker than guys growing up, so she hid the fact until recently. I see, at least I won't mind having her check me out now, Tazuna shrugged. Naruto's eyes narrowed as he saw Tazuna covered in gold. He screamed when he saw that his hands were now woman's hands. Then he looked down and passed out. After Sakura and Sasuke chuckled, Kakashi turned to face Naruto and remarked, "Since you made him faint, you can carry him." Sakura questioned, "How much damn stamina does he really have? I had to take nearly 20 breaks today and you took 8. I think did he ever take any?" As Naruto sighed and started to carry Tazuna. Sasuke replied, "Just 2-1 to help you when you passed out about 3 hours in and after you woke up he came back out, and the other is when we ate those fish his cage bunshin caught for us after they cooked them." Sakura responds with a nod. "I hate to admit it but I feel like he's leaving me behind, so are you. I feel like I am not that strong." Sasuke nodded her head and said, "You're strong in your own way, Sakura, and it will take time and someday you may become even stronger than me and him together." Wide-eyed, Sakura questioned, "Do you really think so?" Since they were conversing quietly, both girls blushed when Naruto's voice startled them and said, "I do." Sasuke replied, "So what are you going to do now, Dobi, that you got that 4-hour time limit on the water walking out of the way?" After setting him down after hearing Tazuna moan, Naruto asked, "What happened and how did I get here?" as Tazuna looked around. When Naruto approached Sasuke, Sakura, and Kakashi, he said, "Never insult my teammates or I will make what you saw become real. As for how you got here, I carried you." He smiled and added, "You're lucky it was him that did that to you and not the girls. They might have made it real first instead of a warning." "Right, let's get home," Tazuna said, covering himself and going pale as he started to walk home. Sakura questioned, "Are you going to answer Sasuke?" questioned Naruto, as Naruto started to follow. Naruto looked up and said, "I'm still going to do the exercise. Making those 2 cage bunshin drained me a lot. I know I may never be able to make a 1000 like I used to, but I would like to still be able to do at least 50 someday, so I need more chakra and control. I got an idea out on the water for a jutsu I am going to try to make and see if it's possible." The ears of Kakashi pricked up. "Really, making your own jutsu is actually a requirement to become a Junin. What's the jutsu you're thinking about? Maybe I can help a little." Naruto replied, "Well, this may sound dumb, but when I was walking on the water I was watching the water and I saw how it moved and it got me thinking about having a Naruto no jutsu." Sakura said, perplexed, "A fish cake jutsu?" Laughing, Sasuke remarked, "I don't think he was referring to that, meaning I think he was talking about a maelstrom." With a slight frown, Naruto replied, "Yeah, that's right." When Sakura asked her question, she noticed Naruto frowning, so she said, "Oh, sorry about that." "That's alright, Sakura, but yeah, I was thinking about a jutsu that would be spinning like a storm or something," Naruto said with a slight smile. After blinking, Kakashi remarked, Are you thinking about it being something small or something big, Naruto?" Naruto sighed and replied, "I don't know, I am not really sure how to make it. I was thinking about trying to use my chakra to control water to form it around me, something like that water prison thing Zabuza trapped you in, Kakashi-sensei, but maybe bigger so it could attack at long range since I don't really have any long range jutsu." Sasuke replied, "You seem to have put a lot of thought into this, Dobi." Naruto replied, "It's just a random idea anyways, probably won't work. I've had a few others that I am still trying to make but I can't seem to get them to work well." Kakashi was genuinely shocked when he said, "Really, like what?" "Well, since my dad was always my hero growing up, I wanted to be able to do cool jutsu like him, so I tried to figure out that yellow flash jutsu he was famous for," Naruto said, noticing that everyone was staring at him. Kakashi laughed and replied, "I would be surprised if you learned that one, Naruto. Nobody but your father ever could do that jutsu." Everyone blinked when Naruto scowled and uttered, "I know, I keep slamming into things and knocking myself out. I can't figure out how to stop." Sasuke replied, "Whoa, wait a minute, you mean you actually can do that jutsu?" After giving himself a head rub, Naruto remarked, "Well, I'm not sure since I never actually saw it before. I know I got part of it but it's not finished." "Why?" says Kakashi. "Show us, Naruto." As he placed his hands in the ram sign and blue chakra began to form around his body, Naruto scowled and remarked, "Sure, but I don't see why everyone's so serious about it. I mean, it's not that hard actually." Then, there was a yellow flash and a thud, and everyone turned to look where the thud was and saw Naruto fall backwards with his forehead bleeding. Sakura asked in a shocked and awed voice, "How?" as everyone gasped. When Kakashi noticed that Naruto was awake, he went to see how he was doing and asked, "Can you hear me, Naruto?" Blinking in a daze, Naruto uttered the words, "Yeah, but everything is blurry and my head and ears hurt." After healing the cut on Naruto's head and noticing some blood oozing from one of his ears, Kakashi stopped and muttered, "That better." He also flashed through hand signs and his hand glowed green. As he slowly sat up, Naruto, who was still lying down, said, "Yeah?" Kakashi responded, "Take it easy." After a few minutes of standing up after nodding, Naruto was asked by Tazuna, what was that? That was a jutsu Naruto father created back during the last great ninja war, the Hiraishin, though I don't know how he did it, Kakashi remarked, glancing at Tazuna. Still a little unsteady on his feet, Naruto said, you know how the Shushin works, right? Kakashi replied, yeah, you use your chakra to anchor yourself where you want to appear while also anchoring yourself where you are, and use your chakra to basically pull yourself to the place you're going. Why? That wasn't what I was told Shushin was, scowled Naruto. Sasuke responded, well, what were you told Shushin was, and what does that have to do with you using the Hiraishin Dobi? Naruto looked up and said, I asked Mizuki Teme one day when Iruka-sensei was called out of class how Iruka did the Shushin. Mizuki said he used his chakra to slingshot himself where he was going and the leaves that appeared where from kicking up the leaves in the air where he stops. So you thought that if the Hiraishin was an advanced Shushin then it must work the same, right? Kakashi asked, his eyes darting rapidly back and forth as he thought. Naruto replied, yeah, what I did was gather my chakra around my body while using it to grab onto something a distance away in front of me and behind me, and like a slingshot my chakra surrounding me makes my body become like the rock that it's going to launch, and I have the chakra I am anchoring in front of me to hold me in place while having the chakra anchor behind me pull away from me, making the pull on the anchor in front of me harder, and when I can't keep the concentration anymore I let go of the anchor in front of me, and next thing I know, bam, I hit whatever object is the first thing in front of where I was being pulled. Kakashi's eyes widened as everyone considered it, and he remarked, unbelievable Naruto, I think you actually figure it out. Sakura inquired, but if he actually figured it out then how was he able to make the yellow flash, and then how was his father able to stop and be able to attack? Kakashi glanced at his teammates and responded, I think I know why, but I think I should tell Naruto separate since it is his family jutsu. I know he trusts both you, but if people found out that you knew the truth about how to do the jutsu, if I am right, then they would target you to get the info. Is that all right with all three of you? Sasuke replied, the Dobi deserves it, he did figure it out himself, and if you can help him with the last of it then he should decide who and who does not know it. Besides, seeing him not only figure out such a legendary jutsu but want to make one himself makes me want to do the same. Sakura said, well, let's go back to Tazuna, I'm starving, with a small smile. Tazuna said, you okay, kid? As Naruto shook his head while holding the side of his head. As he stumbled and fainted, Naruto blinked and remarked, yeah, but I think we better get back quick, I need to lay down a little bit. Sakura and Sasuke cried out, Naruto. With a sigh, Kakashi picked up Naruto and carried him to Tazuna's house, saying, I thought so, he has a concussion, I healed it as best as I could but it was still swollen, he will be fine in a little while, when the swelling goes back down I'll carry him. When everyone returned to Tazuna's house a few hours later, Naruto opened his eyes, sat up, and noticed a plate next to his bed. He ate it quickly, carried the dishes to the kitchen to wash them, and then went outside after thinking, I guess everyone is asleep, but where is Kakashi-sensei? Sasuke must be in the room with Sakura. He hurried up to the roof after spotting Kakashi sitting there. As he read his book, Kakashi questioned, feeling better? Naruto replied, yeah, but what happened I don't really remember after hitting the tree. Having described the events, Kakashi concluded, and so we brought you here and placed you in bed and ate before everyone retired for the night. I had to make Sasuke and Sakura stay in the other room since they were worried about you. After a few minutes of silence during which Naruto nods, he asks, Kakashi-sensei, can I ask you something? After shutting his book, Kakashi replied, sure. What were my parents like? Inquired Naruto. After giving Naruto a long look, Kakashi remarked, I will tell you only after you answer a question for me. After giving it some thought, Naruto remarked, very well. What do you really think of Sasuke and Sakura? Inquired Kakashi. Naruto scowled, glanced around, and questioned, why? Kakashi responded, I need to know them better so I can train them better. I already asked both them separately what they thought of each other and you, so I know what all three of you really need help on. Will you tell them what I say or can you tell me what they said? Asked Naruto, scowling. Kakashi nodded his head and replied, no, since you three known each other for years you know things about each other I don't, so to help you all I need to know these answer and please be honest. I know it will be hard but please I need to know. They're not around, are they? Asked Naruto, scowling. As Kakashi put it, nope, both are asleep. Why? After letting out a sigh and taking a seat next to Kakashi, Naruto remained silent for a while before uttering the words, Sasuke and Sakura are unique. Kakashi inquired, what do you mean? Naruto turned to the sky and said, I guess I can start with Sakura. At first glance you might just think she's like normal fangirls and dismiss her, but that is where you would be wrong. In truth, Sakura is sort of like a tulip. People are always underestimating her at first glance, like a tulip, because tulips only bloom for a short amount of time each year, but during that time when they bloom they are considered by some as beautiful as a rose. The rest of the time they are glanced over and dismissed. Like a tulip, she carries a heavy load on her shoulders from all the pressure that she feels being the first ninja in her family, wanting to make her parents proud, to prove herself to those that supported her when she was small and prove that she can bloom. But that is where she truly becomes unique. She has an inner strength that allows her to carry through what the world blows her way, and she may get knocked down, but she will eventually get back up stronger than ever. I see you sound like you know flowers pretty well, Kakashi said, nodding. With a laugh and a head rub, Naruto remarked, I sort of do gardening as a hobby. With a blink, Kakashi uttered, really, I wouldn't have thought that. With a downward glance, Naruto remarked, flowers can't glare and they hardly ever judge. Behind his mask, Kakashi scowled and questioned, so what about Sasuke? Naruto bit his lip and looked at the moon and said, Sasuke is. I don't really know how to describe her. When I thought Sasuke was a guy, the first would describe Sasuke as a cactus. She was able to survive through harsh environment, and to those who get close to her would be pricked by her rough exterior, and she had a bitter interior, but that's what she wanted everyone to think. I remember before we went to the academy I would walk around town and I would walk by this lake with a small pier. I noticed that every day Sasuke would be sitting on this pier when I walked by, and she would glance at me and we would look at each other for a moment, and somehow I knew there was something wrong there. It drove me crazy trying to figure out what was wrong, and I would get frustrated trying to figure her out, which is why I call her Teme. But one day I went and sat down beside her. I don't know why, but I just sat there with my shoes on the pier and my feet in the water next to her and remained silent until she got up and left. Sometime later this happened every day, that it wasn't raining until the day before we entered the academy. That day when she got up from the pier she said, thank you, and I was so shocked she actually talked. I jumped up and said, you can talk. Sasuke laughed and shoved me in the lake before she left, as he smiled softly thinking back. Kakashi was listening to Naruto and glanced down the side of the house and waited, and Naruto continued. When we entered the academy, I was so excited to go to the academy that I got there first before everyone, and Sasuke sat down next to me, and it was just like the pier. Neither of us had to say anything, we just were there and it was nice. But then the massacre happened and she changed. I don't know what happened to her, since all anyone would say is that she was attacked by Itachi and her family was dead. Something happened to her and she would keep this guarded look on her face and eyes. But then there was times when she would relax around me when no one was looking, and I could see the person I sat by from the pier was still there, and I would see a small smile or a soft sigh, but then someone would come to see the last Uchiha and try to force me to move or something, and she would then frown again and she would glare at whoever it was or go back to her I am better than you, kiss my ass attitude. I don't know why she did that then, though. There were times I just wanted to drag her ass back to that lake and shove her in the lake and tell her to snap the fuck out of it, but she would somehow know I was getting irritated at her and back off a little and be civil, if only just to others. But once I calmed down she would go back to having a kunai shoved up her ass. But those were all before we became a team and before I found out the truth about her. With a nod, Kakashi inquired, so what do you think about her now? Naruto replied, have you ever heard of the bloody blue rose, Kakashi-sensei? No, I haven't, though I am not really that informed on flowers. Why? Kakashi said, blinking. Naruto grinned and said, the bloody blue rose is a very, very rare rose that was crossbreed with violets to make. It is said a person could crossbreed them their entire life and never see one. They are blue in color except right in the center of the bloom where it looks like the rose itself is bleeding blood. I've made one. Widening the eyes of Kakashi. According to Kakashi, really? Naruto said, the night Mizuki attacked me and told me about kyubi I couldn't sleep, so I went to where I have my flowers at and I just sat there looking at them. The moonlight shined through a skylight and it bathed the ones I had been working on my last year. A single bulb began to open in the moonlight and I watched as it did, and it was like Kami blessed me that night to calm my mind. I forgot about the kyubi and the hate and everything and stared at that rose till I passed out. When I woke up the rose was still there and I went to touch it and I learned something real quick. It was so beautiful I tried to touch it and I learned that the stem of the rose was covered with 10 times the amount of thorns than any other rose I have ever seen, and its stem looked like it was so strong that nothing could damage the rose. But when I returned home from the academy I went to look at the rose and I had found that it was dying. When I had pricked my finger I had accidentally cut the stem with a nail. On the outside Sasuke is so strong and tough that anyone who she doesn't allow to get close to her will be hurt, but she's also fragile on the inside. She'd been hurt by losing her family like I had cut that stem, but she has survived and made it harder for anyone to get closer to her, but she's still as fragile inside as ever, and she will never forget that cut, as it will remain with her for the rest of her life. She won't show herself to everyone, only those she really wants to and when she is ready to, and whoever she does, if they are smart, they will have a treasure like none other to hold, but if the person is a fool, then the beauty she has will disappear forever. According to Kakashi, you love her, don't you? Naruto let out a sigh. Look, I answered your question about what I think of them. I think both have the potential to become better than anyone, including me. Can you please just tell me about my parents? Kakashi looked at him and said, I got something back in Konoha that will help explain your parents better than I could ever. Can you wait until then, because my words will be meaningless until you have what I have for you. I think you're ready for it. As he stood up and began to move toward the opposite end of the house, Naruto closed his eyes and said, fine. Kakashi inquired, why are you afraid to admit your feeling for them? Naruto, you care for both Sakura and Sasuke more than you want to admit. Nobody looks as deep into a person as you did without caring for them. As he jumped off the house's roof and landed on the ground below, Naruto remarked, flowers are as fleeting as the season. Vines like me have no place in a flower's bed. If I were, I would only destroy their beauty and cause the flowers to die. He was referring to the moon. Kakashi nodded his head. He may have become wiser, but he has a long way to go to become smarter. I guess it's hereditary. Your father was too noble to get close to anyone until your mother had enough of him and knocked some sense into him. Irony is not lost on me. Kushina. Tsunami had breakfast on the table when Naruto woke up the following morning and went downstairs, saying, morning Tsunami. Good morning Naruto, so how do you feel today? Tsunami said with a smile. As Naruto put it, good you, Tsunami replied. Good, everyone seemed excited about something you did yesterday on the way back, even though you got hurt a little. According to Naruto, I'm fine, I heal fast. After descending the stairs, Kakashi yawned and exclaimed, yo. Naruto blinked and thought, okay, what the hell's up with them? Both feel like they want to beat the shit out of someone. He rolled his eyes as Sakura and Sasuke descended, and he saw them look at him after glancing at each other. When Sasuke took a seat next to Kakashi, Kakashi exclaimed, yo. Sasuke glared at Naruto and said, HN. Naruto was about to open his mouth to bite into the rice when Sakura walked over to sit on the opposite side of him. She then leaned between his head and arm, kissed him, causing him to open his eyes, and then dropped the rice back onto his plate. What the hell, Sakura-chan? Asked Naruto after breaking the kiss. Smiling at Sasuke, Sakura sat down and greeted him with, hello morning glory. Naruto blinked repeatedly while posing the question, what? Sasuke replied, morning glories are vines that need support to reach for the sun. They're often mixed in with other flowers like tulips and roses. Dobi, with a grin. With a blink, Naruto turned to face Kakashi and uttered, you told them. No, it wasn't my fault. Their window was open, though right below us, Kakashi said with a smile. Glaring at him, Naruto said, whatever. He then stood up, went to the door, grabbed the bag he had stolen from Gato's place, slipped it over his shoulder, and opened it. Kiba was standing there, ready to knock. When Naruto opened the door, his eyes widened, and he thought, oh shit. He pulled his fist back, and before Kiba could react, he slammed it into his face, sending him flying back a few feet. Then Naruto screamed, Sasuke, are you sure you're ready to show everyone who you really are? And slammed the door. Yeah, why, and who was that at the door? Asked Sasuke, blinking. Sakura and Sasuke's eyes widened when they heard a scream coming from the other side of the door that said, what the hell, who the hell was that asshole who punched me in the face? Sakura put her hand to her face and moaned, damn it, Kiba, it had to be Kiba. I guess with everything that happened I forgot I sent a message to Konoha for help. Kakashi grinned as he said this. When Kiba started banging on the door, Sasuke stood up, walked over, and yelled, move Dobi. They just had to send the one person who grates my nerves more than a fangirl, Kiba said as Naruto stepped aside and Sasuke opened the door. Kiba was punched in the face a second time before the door was slammed shut. Kakashi shook his head and said, I guess if Kiba is here that means that the Hokage sent team aid. I better go tell Kurenai it's okay to come in. Naruto snickered and started laughing, and he walked over and opened the door, only to be knocked to the ground after Kiba tackled him in the stomach. Naruto and Sasuke were both giggling as they slid to a halt when Kurenai entered and yelled, Kiba, stop. She then grabbed the back of his coat and yanked him off. Kiba snarled and turned to face Naruto and Sasuke. He attempted to attack them but was thwarted because Kurenai was still wearing his coat. As she laughed, Sasuke remarked, calm down Mutt, we had to make sure that you were really you and not a hench. Kiba screamed, who the hell are you both? With a growl. When Shino entered, he said, it is Sasuke and Naruto, Kiba. This caused them to blink and turn to face him. Knowing that Shino doesn't say things at random, Kurenai asked, wide-eyed, "What do you mean, Shino?" The awake Kakashi declared, "It's true, Kurenai." Sakura inquired, "Where is Hinata at Kurenai?" as Kurenai scowled while examining both. Hinata couldn't make it due to a training accident with her family, so the Hokage sent us in Team 10, Kurenai said, sighing as she looked at Sakura and bit her lip in an attempt to release any genjutsu. Says Naruto. "Wait, Smokestack's here, are you really Naruto?" Kurenai asked, glancing at Naruto. Naruto was saying, "On my last birthday I helped you spend the day with Ayame and another woman by kidnapping her to spend the day with you. So what happened to you both? How did Sasuke become a girl, and how did you grow as tall as Kakashi as well as change one of your eye colors and add red streaks to your hair?" Kurenai asked, his eyes widening as Kakashi gave him a perverted giggle while he read his book. Looking at Shino, Naruto said, Can we wait until Smokestack gets here? I don't want to have to repeat it twice, but how did you know it was us, Shino?" Shino stated, "When Kiba was attacked the first time, I sent several of my bugs into the house to find out what was going on in case it was an ambush. They returned, and since I spared with Sasuke in the academy, they knew her blood as well as yours. Even if it is slightly different now, it was enough to make me believe you are Naruto." "Why the hell did you punch me dead last?" Kiba asked as Naruto rubbed the back of his head. Ignoring Kiba's question, Naruto scowled and uttered, "Where's Smokestack and how did you find us?" As she approached, Sakura inquired, "Why do you keep calling him Smokestack?" Naruto glanced at her and said, "Asuma-sensei had me watch Konohamaru for him when the Fire Lord came to town 2 months ago. If I could keep him busy without causing any trouble, then he was supposed to pay me enough to buy me some new weapons since my other ones were getting in bad shape. When he came by to pick him up, he was supposed to slip the money in my hands so Konohamaru wouldn't find out that he was set up, but instead of slipping me the money he slipped me his cigarette, forgetting what hand it was in. What made it funny is he was busy talking to me and Konohamaru. He failed to realize what he did and he blinked and said, 'What the hell happened to you, Naruto, and who are you?' Asuma's voice said, 'I accidentally set $200 on fire thinking it was a cig since I had rolled the bills to make passing them easier. Although I am aware that your voice has changed somewhat, I mistakenly believed it was puberty.' Kakashi responded, 'Well, Naruto did hit puberty, and to welcome him into manhood, Sasuke had a sex change and both her and Sakura did a team bonding exercise with him.' Naruto scowled, and Sasuke retorted, 'You know that's not bad of an idea.' Kiba was wide-eyed before he blew back with a perverted smile and a nosebleed. 'You were in Sakura.' 'Why not?' Sakura shrugged as Kiba, who was recovering, blew back with a nosebleed once more. With a laugh, Kakashi questioned, 'Where's your team, Asuma?' Asuma replied, 'We were outside waiting to see what happened since Kiba was sent flying twice. Before I do call them though, I want to know what really happened to your team, Kakashi.' Kakashi breathed a sigh of relief and closed. 'Well, officially, Naruto activated an unknown bloodline from one of his parents. We are not for sure which, since Minato-sensei was an orphan and Kushina was from the land of Whirlpool.' Naruto remarked, 'Relax, Smokestack, I found out on my own while my bloodline activated,' as Asuma's eyes widened. When Asuma realized that there was more to the story than what he had heard, he scowled and remarked, 'I see in the Uchiha.' Sasuke stated, 'I've always been a girl. My family didn't want any of the other clans to try and get the elders to agree for an arranged marriage, so they placed a seal on me to hide that I was a girl until I broke it recently.' When Sasuke saw Naruto's slight smile, he grinned, and Kurenai remarked, 'I see, then I probably should talk to you about certain lessons that you missed for reasons. So why don't you invite your team in? I think it is going to be funny to see their reaction to this,' Kakashi said, in response to Sasuke's shrug. Grinning, Sakura remarked, 'Especially Ino.' When Naruto's eyes widened, Sasuke grinned and remarked, 'Sakura, you got a camera?' With a tone of amusement, Sakura said, 'I wish.' Shaking his head, Shino reflected, 'They are all illogical.' After waking up once more, Kiba wiped the blood from his face and remarked, 'I bet the dead last doesn't even know what to do with a dick, if he even has one. That was a dirty trick you all played.' Kurenai glared at Naruto and said, 'Kakashi, what have you been teaching your students?' Tsunami glared at Kiba and said, 'Please do not speak like that in my house, and for your information, you are wrong on both assumptions.' This made all the new people wide-eyed. 'Don't blame me, he had previous instructions from multiple teachers.' Kakashi smirked behind his mask as he read his book, noticing Kurenai's pale face out of the corner of his eye. Kurenai said, 'What do you mean?' in a hushed tone. When Naruto opened his mouth to say something, Sasuke him in the face and said, 'After we were reunited with him, I confessed I love him and been trying to seduce him ever since.' I told him that I would annoy him until he was mine, and he told me there was no way that I could annoy him as much as the time he lost his virginity. Something about a stupid song. After that I forced the story out of him, and he told us he has been with a total of 7 women in his life, but he didn't tell us who they were out of respect for the woman, but there were a few unintended clues, and with Sakura help we could figure a couple of them. Kakashi sensei heard us discussing it while Naruto recovered, and he figured some out as well, but out of respect for his privacy and the woman's we won't tell. When Kurenai scowled and uttered the words, "I see," Kiba replied, "Lucky bastard, who were the desperate bitches that you boned?" "Watch it, Mutt face, some of them might be closer to home than you might like," Sasuke said with a scowl. Angry with Kiba, Kurenai commanded, "Please do not refer to woman like that in my presence, Kiba." Kiba looked at him and replied, "Come on sensei, any woman who chooses him has to be desperate. I mean, he shouldn't even be a ninja. What happened on this mission already is proof of that. The only reason he graduated was because Iruka sensei felt sorry for him, and the Hokage treats him like his own kid." As he dissolved into gold, shocking the younger people, Naruto scowled and uttered, "I'll see you at the bridge, Kakashi sensei." Sasuke lost her temper and slammed her fist into Kiba's face before sprinting in the direction of the bridge, before pulling the back of his coat over his head and slamming her knee into his face. Sakura glared at Kiba, who was holding his face. She then stomped on his foot, causing him to scream and bounce on his other foot. Finally, she left after Sasuke and Naruto. The Junin's eyes widened, and Kiba and Shino were shocked when Kakashi sighed and shut his book, saying, "You just fucked up, Kiba, big time because of what happened on this mission. Already Naruto has had to kill several times. He's even faced Uchiha Itachi and Hoshigaki Kisame, both of which are S-rank missing nins on his own." According to Asuma, Itachi was here. Kakashi responded, "Yeah, there was more to it than that, but I will have to talk to you privately about it. It was not directly related to the mission or Sasuke, but it did have to deal with that S-rank mission we all had. Luckily that prisoner is dead now," causing Asuma and Kurenai to look at each. "Are you certain, Kakashi?" inquired Kurenai. Kakashi replied, "Yes, but it came at a price anyways, Kiba. Naruto saved my life against an A-rank missing nin. Sasuke awoke her Sharingan trying to find Naruto, and both her and Sakura have become as close to Naruto as you and your companion. They would literally kill or die for him, and him for them. Now, if you don't mind, I need to go check on my team. You ready to go, Tazuna?" After consuming some water, Tazuna pointed to Kiba and remarked, "Yeah, I don't mind since the soap opera is over now, but that boy right there sleeps outside. I don't know or care what his problem is, but he insulted my daughter and guest in my home." Kiba looked at Kurenai and replied, "That's all right, sir. My team will stay outside for guard duty of your home, and I am sorry for my students' words and actions." Tazuna took a moment to sigh and tease, "It's all right, miss. I assume that your student must not have proper upbringing and training from his parents to disrespect people as such. I will not make your entire team suffer for his actions as long as he does not insult the rest of our guest here." "Thank you, miss," Kurenai said. Tsunami replied, "Tsunami, I am Tazuna daughter, and my son Inari is still upstairs asleep, so you can meet him later." Nods to Asuma and says, "Asuma, why don't you let me take Ino with me to join Kakashi team, and you watch the client's family with Kiba and Shino here. Check out security and also find out what all been happening, so that way when we meet up tonight we can come up with a plan. Kiba, you are also to mind your manners, or I will not only inform the Hokage but also you mother and sister," making Kiba blush. Asuma replied, "But why do you need Ino? I can understand leaving a team here to protect the client's family, but why not take a team with you?" According to Kurenai, "Because I need to talk to Sasuke about the things she missed out by being a guy, and I don't want to embarrass her, as well as talk to Sakura and Ino and make sure Kakashi and you have given both your female students the proper information they need to know, unless you want to review those with them yourself." "All right," Asuma said with a frown, "go get her and I'll bring the boys in. Kakashi, you agree?" Kakashi replied, "Yeah, I think you can also talk to Sasuke and Sakura about getting proper cloths for females. Also, I tried to talk to them about it, but they keep thinking I am wanting to get them some yellow polka dot bikinis." When Kakashi grinned and Kurenai's eyes widened, Tazuna remarked, "Well, come on, I'm not paying you to stand around." Naruto was not prepared for what he saw when he arrived at the bridge. Naruto asked, "Who are you and why are you here?" as he glanced around at the lone man standing on the bridge. Sakura followed her a few seconds later, followed by Sasuke. The bridge attendant replied, "I see your Konoha nin's good. I was waiting for you. I got a message from the Hokage that a Konoha nin was missing in the area. I came to help track him down. Where is Hitaki Kakashi?" Sakura replied, "I recognize you. You're Jiraiya of the Sanins." "Yes," Jiraiya replied. "Who are you?" After giving it some thought, Naruto said, "Wait, you're the guy who trained my father." Jiraiya turned to face Naruto, narrowed his eyes, and inquired, "Who are you, Gaki?" According to Naruto, Naruto Namikaze. "No, you're not Gaki. Naruto has whiskers and Jiraiya remarked. Actually Jiraiya-sama, he is Naruto. I'm Kurenai Uehi, Junin sensei of Team 8. My team was sent along with Team 10 under Asuma Sarutobi to find Naruto, but he had already been recovered, though some things have happened. Kurenai, who had arrived with Ino, interrupted him, rubbing her stomach as Tazuna appeared next to her. With a scowl, Jiraiya turned to face Naruto and questioned, "Why did you call yourself Namikaze when your last name is Uzumaki?" Naruto paused and glanced at Ino before continuing, saying, "Minato and Kushina. When my bloodline activated, I had to see some of my memories, including those right after I was born, so I saw my mother pass away and then my father." Jiraiya remarked, "I see. Where is Kakashi?" Kurenai stated, "He's back at the client's house with my team while I brought the girls here and Naruto to guard the client and review kunoichi lessons with them. Naruto came ahead of us before we had a chance to inform him." Jiraiya replied, "Very well, in that case I need to borrow Naruto a little while and debrief him and send a message back to Konoha, so if you don't mind let me borrow him a little while." According to Kurenai, "Yes Jiraiya-sama." Glancing at Sakura and Sasuke, Naruto scowled and said, "It's alright. I'll be back shortly." He then approached Jiraiya, who put his hand on Naruto's shoulder and shushed him away. Upon their departure, Ino gazed at the female Sasuke and inquired, "Was that really Naruto, and where is Sasuke-kun and who are you?" Sakura said, "Relax, the bell is to notify all those who are coming to work on the bridge that they are working today. They should be here in the next 15 minutes. Tazuna approached and rang a bell that was hanging on the bridge, shocking Kurenai and Ino. Watching Tazuna sit on a crate, Kurenai nods and remarks, "Well Ino, that really was Naruto. Apparently he had an unknown bloodline that awoke and changed him. As for who the girl here is, as hard as it is to believe it, but she's Sasuke Uchiha." Gazing at Sasuke, Ino exclaimed, "That's not possible. Sasuke-kun's a guy." Sasuke replied, "Hate to break it to you Ino, but the guy you and Amy raped that day was actually Naruto. In a henge of me, I've been a girl my entire life and I had a genjutsu on me since the day I was born to make me look like a guy so the Uchiha elders couldn't marry me off without my parents' permission. It wasn't until this mission I was able to drop the genjutsu." Kurenai, looking shocked, said, "Rape you didn't Ino?" Ino was pale. Sakura replied, "Like you're one to talk sensei, after all you helped take his cherry." When Ino turned to face the flushed Kurenai, she looked shocked and said, "Wait, you're telling me the guy the first gave my virginity to was Naruto, the class idiot?" Before Ino could react, Sasuke had a kunai at her neck glaring at her and Sasuke said, "Do not ever make fun of him again. The only reason he was the dead last of our class was because Mizuki Teme was putting genjutsu on his test papers, giving him the wrong test and changing Naruto answers because he had planned to trick Naruto into stealing something that would have got Naruto killed and Mizuki a chance to escape with the item. It wasn't learned until we graduated that Mizuki was in fact a traitor. Naruto's stealth skills are so good that he could paint the Hokage monument in broad daylight wearing orange without getting caught. His speed and stamina are high enough to outrun Enbu, Junin, and Chunin for hours. He has more chakra than most Junins. The only thing he is actually lacking in is experience and chakra control, and he is gaining in those areas as well. The only reason that you were able to capture him that day is two of you jumped him while his pants were down in the bathroom and handcuffed him to a sink, and he didn't want to hurt you." As she stepped back, removing the kunai. When Kurenai noticed the kunai at Ino's neck, she became tense and remarked, "Sasuke, even though I respect that you have protected your teammates' honor, you cannot attack other Konoha shinobi." Snorting, Sasuke declared, "I'm on the rag so I can kill anyone I want." Sakura slapped her head and said, "Sasuke, you don't have to act like a guy anymore, so you don't have to be so blunt." Tazuna went pale and stepped aside. Sasuke crossed her arms and said, "Whatever." It struck Kurenai, "My god, she's a mini Anko." With a trembling reaction to what had just transpired, Ino drew back and punched Sasuke in the face, sending her flying, saying, "You bitch." Ino was screaming, "I can't believe all this time I wasted chasing a fucking cunt like you." Everyone was taken aback when Sakura rolled her eyes, grabbed Ino by the back of her neck, pulled her over, and slammed her lips against Ino, causing the girl to freeze. Sasuke thought this was hot. Sakura released Ino and uttered the words, "Shut up piggy," and Sasuke, "Between you and him I am losing all my inhibition." With a startled expression, Ino looked at Sakura, staggered, and put her hands to her lips before saying, "You kissed me." Sakura sighed and replied, "Deal with it piggy, you got a perverted sensei, a bisexual girl disguised as a guy talking about sex all the time, and a guy with the body of a god and a club between his legs, and he had sex with a screamer recently, and you get me," as she raised her arms. "Exactly how do you know what he has?" Sakura? Sasuke asked, glancing at Sakura. Sakura replied, "You're not the only one who knows that bathroom mirror trick, Sasuke-chan." Kurenai was startled and thought, "They're both Anko." He replied, "Alright. Settle down now, we have to get this situation settled out and fast because the two biggest perverts besides the Sandaime Hokage is on this island now and they will ruin all our reputations if they find out." As she released a tiny amount of ki, Sasuke remarked, "Then it's easy, Naruto is mine, stay away from him and we're good, fuck with him and I'll cut off your nipples and make earring out of them." When the woman smelled it, they wrinkled their noses and turned to see Tazuna and Zabuza standing motionless, both of them with wet stains on the front of their pants. Kurenai approached Tazuna slowly and placed him behind her, keeping her hands away from the stain as she eyed Zabuza, who was motionless, when a figure who was carrying Zabuza's sword emerged from behind him, causing almost everyone to freeze. The figure said, "My, women have sure gotten a foul mouth on them over the years." As Kurenai put it, "Who are you?" At that moment, Naruto ran across the bridge and slid to a halt while holding his sword. He looked around and said, "What's going on, kid? We were fighting these two who were on their way to the client's house when you took off here." Jiraiya had just arrived with two mercenaries knocked unconscious over his shoulder. "I am Naruto Namikaze, who are you?" Naruto said, glancing at the figure staring at him. "Ah, so you are the Maelstrom, this guy with you," the figure said. Given Zabuza's appearance, Naruto remarked, "No, he's been hired to kill my client. Why?" After glancing at Zabuza, the figure swiftly knocked him unconscious and said, "Sorry, nothing personal." The figure turned and said, "Relax, kid, I am not here for you, head." Naruto had taken off his sword and assumed a defensive stance. As Zabuza's body hit the ground, he threw the sword to the ground close to Kurenai, who picked it up. Jiraiya questioned, "Who are you and what do you want here?" as Naruto scowled. At that moment, Kakashi made his appearance and turned to see Jiraiya, Naruto, the stranger, Zabuza, the unconscious Haku, and the others. After lowering his black cloak and removing his white mask, which revealed a man with black hair and brownish black eyes, the figure said, "I have gone by many names in my life. I was considered to be the oldest of our kind. I prefer the name Mythos, a watcher." He then lifted his cloak sleeve to reveal a tattoo on his wrist. Sasuke said, "You okay, Dobi?" as Naruto put his hand to his head. Naruto replied, "Just a memory, you're one of the 4 horsemen." I see what Connor saw in you," Mythos remarked. "You like him?" Mythos said, "Relax, she's not dead, I only knocked her out," as Naruto glanced over his shoulder. "Do you know what he's talking about, Naruto?" Jiraiya inquired. Everyone stared at him in disbelief when Naruto said, "I do, but it's not for you to know, Godfather." Jiraiya was startled. So Naruto moved forward and asked, "What do you want from me, Mythos?" "If anything, what I remember about you is that you never act without a reason." Mythos glanced at the others and said, "Alone." Jiraiya said, "Stop, I'm not letting," as Naruto scowled and gestured toward the end of the bridge. He then vanished in gold and reappeared a short distance away, saying, "Do not interfere." While he was still holding the handle of his sword, he looked at Mythos and said, "This is something between him and me." When Kakashi, who had gone over and restrained Zabuza and Haku, said, "Let him go, Jiraiya-sama," Jiraiya began to speak. "There have been events that you find incomprehensible. We were also prohibited from interfering." Jiraiya gives Kakashi a furious look as she says, "If a fight breaks out, it's one-on-one." Jiraiya glanced at Kakashi as Naruto and Mythos crossed the bridge and uttered, "What's going on, Kakashi? I want an answer, and I want it right away." Naruto is protected by the Uchiha clan, and anything that has to do with Naruto's affairs falls under my protection and silence, Sasuke said as Kakashi opened his mouth. "I will charge you both with interfering in clan business if you try to discuss Naruto's affairs without getting his consent." "I'm sorry, Jiraiya-sama, but she's got me there, and you know my rules," Kakashi said, glancing at Jiraiya. "Those who break the rules are trash, and those who desert their friends are even worse. You will need to speak with Naruto about it if you want an answer," he said, smirking as he took out his book. Jiraiya scowled as she turned to see Naruto and Mythos standing facing one another after stopping. "So what do you want?" asked Naruto as he and Mythos crossed paths. "All 4 of the horsemen are alive again," Mythos declared. "While adhering to the rules, the other 3 will cooperate to find and eliminate the other immortals. I selected, trained, and eventually destroyed the horsemen, just as I had created them. They are only interested in controlling the world. They don't care about the game. The game doesn't matter to me. I don't want to live any longer because I've lived so long, but I can't allow my error to ruin the world once more until the other horsemen are slain. I want to mentor and counsel you, then I'll let you have my head. I can rest easy in death as long as the horsemen are destroyed. That's what I desire." How can I know I can trust you? Inquired Naruto. You have only my word, Mythos said. You have a choice. After throwing his sword to Mythos, who caught it, Naruto stood with his eyes closed and his arms spread wide. As the sword on the ground turned to gold and Naruto sheathed the sword that materialized in his hand, Mythos looked shocked and the sound of metal hitting concrete was heard. Naruto opened his eyes and Mythos started to walk back toward the group, and Naruto thought, so his vow to kill only in self-defense is real. So what's up? Kakashi asked as they made their way back. Mythos will accompany us to Konoha, Naruto stated. I'm going to learn more kenjutsu techniques from him. I see, Kakashi said with a frown. Jiraiya replied, hold on Gaki, you can't make that kind of decision. Naruto replied, and why can't a civilian come live in Konoha? According to Jiraiya, he's no civilian. According to Mythos, I'm no ninja. I refuse to let him come with us until I get answers to some questions, Jiraiya said, giving him a fierce look. Naruto replied, okay, then why is it that I've never met you and yet you're my godfather? Jiraiya grabbed Naruto and shushed away after glancing at him and saying, you and I are talking alone. Kurenai asked, what should we do Kakashi? After they had left. When Kakashi noticed a group of men moving toward the bridge, he said, well, I think we should deal with them. Looks like things haven't changed as much as I thought. Mythos snorted and looked around before grabbing a 10-foot-long piece of rhubarb steel. When Jiraiya released Naruto, who was standing there in the woods, Jiraiya said, so tell me what exactly is going on. First, where have you been? Asked Naruto. You can't imagine how miserable my life was. I had duties that would have put your life in more danger than it was, Jiraiya remarked with a frown. Tough shit then, Naruto said after glancing at him for a few seconds. Although I know your name and have heard rumors about you, that might have been the case even in Konoha. You had time to write the books Kakashi-sensei reads and to spy on women, but you never stopped by to check on me. He leaned against a tree and said, I'm not telling you anything, and I don't owe you shit. Let me see the seal kid, Jiraiya said. I believe you were being impacted by kyubi. It's unbelievable that you were able to train my father, Naruto snorted. You're a fool. You believe that my attitude is a result of kyubi's influence on me. He turned and began to leave, saying, fuck it, if that's what you think, I don't need you in my life. Naruto flew back into a tree after Jiraiya stepped in front of him and kicked him in the stomach. Jiraiya approached Naruto, who slowly got to his feet. Jiraiya halted and uttered the words, shit, before disappearing into a whirl of leaves. After blinking, Naruto sensed a strong chakra signature. His eyes widened, and he started to run in its direction. When Jiraiya arrived at the bridge, he witnessed the fighting. Kurenai was trapping men in genjutsu, while Kakashi used a water dragon to strike the men. Mythos was knocking men off the bridge or breaking their arms and legs, but never killing them. Ino was by her side while Sakura threw kunais and shurikens at the men. And Jiraiya quickly bit his thumb to call forth a 10-foot-tall toad and said, give me some oil. He performed hand signals and breathed a fireball at the oil, burning several of the attacking men. Naruto arrived to this scene, swiftly drew his sword, and launched a rear attack on the men. After stabbing one in the back, he decapitated a fourth, flipped over another, and stabbed a third in the side. When Mythos saw this, he moved toward Naruto, and after they fought back and forth, he said, I'm surprised that these kinds of things still happen, but I'm glad to see you're not as weak as I thought you might have been. A group of men surrounded them and launched attacks from various directions. Gato and another group of mercenaries arrived as the battle went on, and they started attacking the group as well. A sword stabbed Naruto through one side of his body and out the other, causing him to gasp. 20 minutes later, Mythos was stabbed in the back by multiple spears shortly after Naruto was declared dead, and he also fell to the ground, dead. Jiraiya yelled, Naruto. Then, in a fit of rage, he snatched up Zabuza's sword and swiftly killed the men. Asuma arrived during this time and saw Gato yelling for his men to kill them. He then killed Gato with his trench knives and proceeded to kill everyone who stood in his way as he moved toward the center of the men. After the battle was over, Sasuke was unconscious, Ino was standing next to Tazuna, who was throwing up, and Jiraiya had multiple cuts all over his body. Kakashi was leaning against the guardrail. Asuma approached Kurenai, who was holding her cut arm, while he cast a sorrowful glance at Naruto. Once Jiraiya had finished removing the weapons from Naruto's body, he said, I'm sorry, Minato. As he closed his eyes and started to flash through hand signals. However, Kakashi's yell of, STOP, stopped Jiraiya. I have to destroy his body too, Jiraiya said. No, he'll be fine in about half an hour because of what happened to Naruto. Kakashi said as he briefly stood in front of Jiraiya. As Naruto's body arched, startling Kurenai, Asuma, Jiraiya, Tazuna, and Ino, a gasp was heard behind him. Ino passed out after gasping for air multiple times. Naruto looked up to see Kakashi and inquired, "Did we win?" With a laugh, Kakashi gestured to Mythos and said, "No thanks to you and him." After he sat up, Naruto swiftly took Mythos's weapons and scowled as he picked up his sword and uttered the words, "Damn it, it broke." "How are you alive, Naruto?" inquired Asuma. Naruto closed his eyes, blinked, and looked around before saying, "Aw crap." Sakura made everyone perspire when she said, "It's a miracle, he's alive." Sighing, Naruto remarked, "It's part of the bloodline I was given. I can heal from nearly anything now." Everyone was shocked when Mythos gasped, and Jiraiya remarked, "I take it he has this same bloodline." Blinking, Mythos exclaimed, "Bloodline? What the hell's a bloodline?" Naruto replied, "Our gift, you know, the reason we're both alive." According to Mythos, "Ah, I see, yeah, it's a bloodline." Frowning, Jiraiya said, "Let me see the seal, Naruto." Kakashi responded, "It's gone, Jiraiya-sama." Along with that, it was destroyed when Naruto bloodline awoke. "You're not going to tell me the truth, are you?" Jiraiya asked. Naruto replied, "You should be used to people treating you that way. After all, I'm sure all the women you had to use to write your books were faking it." As a brick struck him in the back of the head, knocking him unconscious, Jiraiya yelled, "That's it, I'm killing you." Everyone turned to watch Sasuke, who lowered her hand, closed her eyes, and then passed out. Naruto began to look around. "Look, I don't know everything about what has happened to me. It might or might not be a bloodline, but I do know that Mythos has it as well and that I need him to help me learn about it. So can we drop it? Why don't we call it a day? I'll come by and clean this up later today." "And anyone see where Zabuza and his companion got off to?" Kakashi said as everyone fell silent. Asuma replied, "I don't know, but probably left after I killed his employer." After Kakashi nods, Naruto approaches, picks up Sasuke's bridal gown, and walks back to Tazuna's house while Sakura smiles and follows him. "Was it really you that day at the academy, Naruto?" Ino asked on the way back. Without turning around, Naruto said, "You and Amy, yeah." Asuma questioned, "What are you talking about, Ino?" After Ino scowled. Before turning to face Kurenai, Ino waved her hands and said, "Just a prank, nothing to worry about, right, Kurenai-sensei?" The woman glared at Kurenai after he understood Ino's statement and responded, "Right, nothing to worry about." Kakashi then giggled a little. Jiraiya was thinking, "I'll get answer, but I'm not leaving Naruto and him until I get them. Something is very wrong here." "So who else has been brought back? I mean, you know the 4 horsemen are back, but who else, Mythos?" Naruto asked, glancing at Sasuke's sleeping form. Mythos, who was leaning against the wall, said, "Besides the horsemen, I have no idea. Connor, if nothing else, had a sick sense of humor. He brought back those of us who had grudges against others. Me with the horsemen, and they me. I don't know who any of the others are because I don't have grudges against them. I think he did this so we would go after each other quicker. All I can tell you is that we all know about you, and the fact you're Connor's chosen and you took his head means that some of us will have a grudge against you, if nothing else, to replace our grudges against him. I also can tell you that the gathering is here, in the elemental nations, not in the Americas, so they will all feel the need to come here, and as our numbers get smaller and smaller, the more our need to go to a certain location here will increase. Where that location is I don't know because there are still too many of us, but you will begin to notice the pull. I'm sure you can already tell the need to be here. The feeling of curiosity I feel directed toward the mainland," scowled Naruto.
So that's it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe to the channel for more awesome stories like this. Thank you. See you all in my next video.